Politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
Good
Room,
morning to you.
the only way to start your day.
Is Spice FM. What's the date today? 11th, the day after Moi Day, right? 11th of October, 2000. It's another Friday. So 2 Fridays in the week. Of course, we know that very many people had a good holiday yesterday. We hope you enjoyed yourself. Welcome going back to work today. If you're going back to work today, welcome. We hope you rested well. Ndu Oko, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. How do you do, City?
How do you do, Eric?
Oh,
you got the answer right. That's the answer.
you got it right. So suddenly it's we're going back to rainy days. Can you really predict this weather? Is it raining? Is it not? Is it a couple of days earlier? It was.
This is the short rains, right? I can never get the seasons in Kenya.
The short rain season is in November, isn't it?
Okay, so we're close enough.
City?
Actually, I'm the wrong person to
Or
ask
should
that
it be
question.
mid-October?
I stopped trying to figure this thing out a long time ago. I had difficulties understanding the short and the long rains, and when I began to understand it,
it all changed.
Something called El Nino came in. I began to understand El Nino, then something called La Nina came in. And then it would be hot when I'm told it's not supposed to be hot. When I figured when it starts raining, then I will know it is raining. Yes. This business of trying to predict the weather. Yes. And then our Met department didn't make it any easier.
Yeah.
Scientific, as I'm told, this particular practice is, our Met department very often added to what really qualifies as a confusion. Yes, so you got the impression that the best thing they could do is tell us the weather after it has occurred. Then they'll be more accurate.
So what you're saying essentially is that any one of us could work for the Met Department.
No, we can't actually. No, we cannot. I'm being facetious.
I get it.
Yes.
I get it.
So at least there's some movement in Likoni. They have spotted the vehicle. They have identified that it's actually the vehicle. They have also seen the bodies of the mother and daughter are in the vehicle. And they were trying to retrieve them yesterday, but strong currents hindered their efforts to retrieve the car. So there they are. They said that they will be back today.
Okay. Well, let's see. I mean, it was said that once it was spotted the first time, it could take 3 to 4 days to assess the situation and actually start, some kind of evacuation. So it would be over the next couple of days. It would be great to see and at least finally get to that conclusion and give some closure to the families and the country at large who's been waiting for this to happen. So let's see.
So this is what happened apparently. After the car was spotted the day before yesterday, right? They placed a floater to mark the area. This is where the car is, directly below this. But they did not tie anything to the car itself. So the floater is not on the car. It's basically just floating. Strong undercurrents come, they pushed the car. So the floater and the new position of the car are different.
Oh, wow.
So they actually now go where the floater is and they realize, oh my goodness, this car has actually been pushed further again by these undercurrents. So they were trying now to get that out.
We're actually fortunate that the currents have only pushed the car within the precincts of that channel. It could have pushed it further.
Further. Yeah.
Yes. And the mention of a cave, it means it acted as a
stopper,
blockage. Yes, a stopper. Because in the absence of that, that car could have been anywhere.
True.
Yes.
So this operation has actually taken very many days. It has, of course, had an impact as well on the vessels that are waiting to dock or moving out of the KPA harbour. We hope that it ends today, even for the family. You can imagine what the family has actually been going through all these days. It's a big thing.
It is a big thing. All right. Looking at other stories, there's a storm at FKF over a missing 135 million shilling van. In 26 van, vehicle, 135 million shilling.
Okay, carry on. Tell us about this.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yes.
This is what caught my attention. Football Kenya Federation's National Executive Committee, chaired by Nick Mwendwa, voted to buy an outside broadcasting van at a cost of like what is called an OB van for a lot of news coverage. 3 years later, there's nothing on ground. Now, disquiet over the project is increasing given that FIFA dispersed the funds for it.
Hey.
So, FIFA dispersed funds for this OB van not on ground after 3 years, and expectedly, there now is outcry. New boss, same script as 135 million shillings disappears or vanishes into thin air. Now, that gathering of this, there was a decision making organ of FKF, which is the National Executive Committee, was aiming to brainstorm on how best to spend hundreds of millions of shillings FIFA had allocated FKF as an annual grant for football development. And they came up that, okay, what we need to do is buy an OB van. The meeting initially explored
there was a tussle.
Yes. The meeting initially explored the idea of channeling the funds towards construction of hostels and training grounds for the national team players while in camp. The suggestion would save the Federation millions of shillings spent annually on accommodation and leasing of training grounds. The idea was, however, overruled, and officials voted to purchase an OB van for about 135 million. Initially, it made economic sense. After all, the South African pay TV channel SuperSport had stopped airing Kenya Premier League matches at about that time, and FKF thought they could come in and fill the gap. The content would be hawked to available TV and telecommunications market via mobile phone application. So on paper, it was actually a very, very good idea.
So
there was a business model.
It was buy a van, develop an app so that now we can...
buy a van, develop an app, create content, curate content, and then sell the content. So FKF now would have, more of a viable commercial arm with this grant money that they were being given. Unfortunately, the plan was best on paper, and it actually did not... manifest, and so now there's 135 million shillings missing and there's no van. This is the nitty-gritty of the story. This is
a crazy one.
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
this is madness.
I don't get it. I don't understand. So now there is a lot of noise being made. There's a huge stir-up because they're looking for the van and they're also looking for the money. To put
there's
it
money
simply,
and there's van.
No, there's no money and there's no van.
So which do you think would be easier to find?
The van.
Okay. The van was supposed to be in Kenya?
Yes, it was supposed to have been bought.
Money would be easier to find. That'd be money trail. You can basically tell this money has been wired from this point to withdrawn and taken here.
We're being unfair to these people. You see, they are trying to do something which borders on a near impossibility. If you can't find dams in this country, you actually can't find it. You can look for it. More money than they're speaking of have been spent, but you still can't find it.
You can't find it.
Yes, at least we know where the money is, but finding it means probably locating the destination, but as to physically coming across it or retrieving it, you see, that's a different story. Someone needs to tell these people that what they're looking for will not be found. Yes, because really, it is not fair. You can't let these people into our national sport and not tell them the rules.
Apparently, the OB van was acquired and dispatched to the Federation, but in a strange twist of events, supposedly repossessed by SuperSport, which had sold it. But why? Nobody knows. Cue music. In February, then, KFK Communications Officer Barry Otieno said that there were no irregularities surrounding the van's acquisition and that it would be officially handed over to FKF by March 2019. This never happened. SuperSport says they never repossessed the van. We cannot find it.
Crazy. So some MPs in central Kenya are uncomfortable with a push to amend the constitution and create a parliamentary system. One of them is Moses Kuria, who's been quoted by the Standard. He says, this is a region with slightly above 6 million of the country's 18 million voters. Yet when it comes to constituencies, it has only 64 of the 290. It's clearly not tenable to have a parliamentary system for us.
Where does Kuria get his figures from?
From IEBC.
There is no community in this country that has those numbers.
Roughly 6 million. So in the region. The region could have 6 million, City.
Chief.
Yes, Chief. 1 million in Kiambu alone. Now look for 5 million in Muranga. Look for 5 million in Muranga, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Embu, Meru, Tharaka Nithi. Look for 5 million votes.
You know what you're saying is, you're saying that region has a third of the nation's votes.
Voters, yes.
Yes. And I'm telling you, it is not possible. That arithmetic is flawed. Completely flawed. Completely.
Martha Karua says, I don't even see why we're amending this constitution. If we are unable to fully implement the constitution we have, it's needless to even contemplate changing it. Yes, Martha. True.
You know what Martha is doing? We understand she is a lawyer, and her argument follows the same argument that people like Yash Palgai were making. But you see, it's fallacious. When you have a country that has amended its constitution from the time of independence, 5 times we've amended it. So what is this other time that we're going to amend it? Where is the problem?
Result of what we did with the previous constitution is why we were actually very unhappy with it. The reason why we're not saying let's amend it, let's completely change it.
And the we who are unhappy were who?
Whom?
Those of us who voted for a new constitution. I don't know whether you're in the 65% or in the other. I'm among the 65 that voted for this constitution.
Yes, you are. But you see, why is it that we argue for change? Because a need is seen to exist. That's why you argue for change.
Sometimes those needs are actually ill-informed.
And you are the one who decides whether the needs are ill-informed?
One of those needs to amend, to have Section 2A, was it well-informed or ill-informed?
To amend Section 2A, to repeal it, or to
include it?
To actually create Section 2A, make Kenya a de jure one-party state.
But that was a convenience. Somebody considered it a convenience.
Exactly. Political convenience.
But at what point of history was this done, and what sort of governance and government did we have? Eric, these things have to be contextualized, really. Yes. Remember, even before it was made into law, we were already a one-party state. All that they did was now they made it legal.
They forced people into being a one-party state.
Yes, they did. But we were already a one-party state before it was actually made legal.
Yeah, so Martha is not saying don't amend it. She's saying just implement what you have first. And then come and complain.
You know, it's rich coming from Martha, really. Was she not minister for
Justice and Legal Affairs?
Yes, meaning all these matters that we're talking about fell under her docket.
And they passed through her hands at some point. Yes, they did.
And that's how come she understands this constitution, because she knows what is in this constitution and the spirit and letter and everything that was going behind the creation of this constitution.
What I can say is that
she can tell you this is what we intended to do, people. This is what we were saying we were going to do.
And the people who want to change it were also,
Eric,
the people who want to change it also part of that process.
And now
so it's not as though she had a monopoly on the knowledge of what was required.
Political expediency and convenience.
You know, Eric, one of the things that is clear is that Martha understands that since there is a very serious national debate on matters regarding the Constitution, if you talk about it, you'll get airtime. So Moses Kuria also understands it.
No.
He's thrown his hat into the ring.
And he's figured.
I'll land on something.
When was the last time we read about Moses Kuria?
What is wrong with throwing your hat in it? You're participating in a conversation. Why
there's
are you
nothing
saying
wrong with it, but there's nothing wrong with it.
I should only go with what you're saying.
There's nothing wrong with it, but the intent is not to give information that really impacts on people. The intent is to get some attention at some level.
The intent is actually to communicate. It's also to contribute to this debate. Just like what you're contributing to the debate.
To exactly. But alongside that, is also making sure that people know you still exist.
Raila's push is also for political expediency, and also, so that he stays in the limelight. And he shows. So he's doing that. But Raila is raising a point and saying, look, guys, we are due for this. Let's actually go into this system. And then somebody else comes and says, I don't think we should. I don't think this will work well for us.
Well, that's why it's called a conversation.
So don't dismiss the conversation.
It wasn't dismissing. It was stating something that politicians do all the time.
It's imputing improper motive.
For a politician.
Does that exist?
Getting to publicize yourself is improper for a politician.
Imputing improper motive on somebody because they've contributed to something that you do not think.
Politicians will be politicians. And what these people are doing is what politicians do.
And then now the Standard also has a 2-page coverage on Mount Kenya region, the dying towns of Mount Kenya region, page 6 and 7. Very many towns, they were once throbbing with life, but today they are a pale shadow of their former self. Throbbing because of the economic status, tea, coffee, and how people are making money out of that. And now, because tea and coffee are not doing so well, so the towns, there's no economic activity in those trading centers. Deserted Kabecha market in Meru, the ruins of what used to be Midheru market before the highway to Nairobi was rerouted, ruins of what used to be Midheru market before the highway to Nairobi was rerouted, Kiamudhambi market in Kirinyaga County, all these places. So it's a whole 2-page spread.
Well, they should have started with Naivasha, really, because when the new highway to Nakuru came into being, Naivasha all but died. And what revived Naivasha were the flower farms.
For the benefit of everybody else, which one is new, which one is old?
The Kijabe route that follows a windy route to the
Uphill,
escarpment.
uphill
and
coming to
Maimai
Nairobi,
Hill.
downhill, yes.
That's the old route.
The
That's the
Maimai
old
route is the old route.
That's the old route.
Yeah.
The new route is the one that everybody seems to know, the one which goes through Limuru. That's the new route. So this is actually, what we're describing here is a reality of development. And what it is that infrastructure does for development. The passage of a road, the path that a road follows, determines so many things. And what these people are saying, they're simply bringing it to the fore again and saying that some of these development projects that we have, when you have them, please consider what they actually do.
Right.
Yes. In fact, if you're talking about these roads, if you take, I'm talking about the Western Path.
Yeah.
The road used to go through a place called Londiani. Okay. Then a new road that went directly to Kericho was created. Okay. So what that meant that things, shops, markets along the Londiani road died.
Yeah.
And that was the route to Kisumu.
Yeah.
It's only recently that that particular road was revived yet again. So this is something that has happened in this country before. Yes. But it is a factor of development. It's a factor of infrastructure.
That's true.
Yes, because when people follow a certain road in large numbers, it means they represent business opportunities.
Yes, they do.
But the story in Central is unique in that it throws in something that we need to consider and maybe talk about later at some point, as when you have an agricultural-based economy, for instance, because this was tea and coffee.
Yep.
And because the business of those two products have gone down over the years, people whose mainstay was both coffee and tea have suffered. We had it in the papers recently when people were complaining about the issue of tea and the role of the middleman, the role of this and the other. The truth of the matter is one of the biggest harms to agriculture is weather. If the weather patterns are vague, in countries which are cold, if they have frost, if you have more sunshine than you need, all these things, they will affect the products.
Absolutely.
True.
And they'll affect the earnings of the farmers. But this is now where prudence comes in, or financial jurisprudence comes in, because there are times when they have had booms for long seasons and long periods of time, and they've had huge bonuses. But we don't seem to be able to consider saving up for that rainy day. Which
right.
is, yes. So when the rain actually does come, you're unprepared, and it genuinely beats you.
Hits you hard.
Yes, because it isn't as though this particular downward spiral is a continuing effect. It's being talked about loudly because it's happening against a backdrop of not very long ago when there was a boom. The problems when you hear there are problems in Sri Lanka, for instance, who produce tea, it's useful to Kenya because that tea that is grown there will not be able to get to the market. When you hear you have a problem in Pakistan, it's a problem for us because they are some of the biggest importers of our tea.
Yeah.
If you hear there's a problem in Egypt, again, it's a problem for us because they are some also the biggest importers of our tea. These things are all connected. And it's not new. These aren't things that are happening now for the first time.
For the first time.
No, they're not.
Well, speaking about PEG's development, state inks deal to end coast region water woes. There have been water shortages in Mombasa for the longest time. They could be a thing of the past now, after the government obtained China's nod to fund the 42 billion shilling Nzima Springs 2 pipeline. It comes barely weeks after Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho successfully petitioned President Uhuru Kenyatta to prioritize the project as he sought to alleviate the region's water woes. So this might happen because, I mean, Mombasa is ridden with, the constant, what are they called? The push carts with water.
Yep.
They call them cocotenis.
Yes, thank you. I was looking for cocotenis, and people are looking, people are buying water constantly every day. So now here we have a development project that will probably end that soon.
So this is getting water from the Mzima Springs.
Yes.
This is in Taita Taveta.
Mm.
The kind of water projects actually that we've seen aimed at alleviating the water shortage in Mombasa and those coastal towns. Many. It's not the first
No,
one.
it isn't also. But remember, we've had people who've come along with desalination plants.
Yes.
Because that water in the Indian Ocean isn't receding; it's actually increasing. And these don't go anywhere, do they?
No, actually.
No, they don't.
Desalination plants, no.
No,
There's
they don't.
the new project by Santam in Kilifi County when they bought the Vipingo land. So they are setting up a desalination plant apparently that will supply water to all these areas.
Let's see how that goes.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if
So
this
it'll be a
actually
commercial
pans out.
one. They are getting, I think, a water provision license, and then they provide water to all the people who will come into that land and the region in Kilifi.
Kenyatta University closed down on Tuesday. Apparently, the students want their vice chancellor, a gentleman by the name of Paul Wanaina, out.
Okay.
They say this person doesn't understand the needs of the students because he insists that all students clear their fees in 1 month, which many of them say is impossible.
Isn't payment of fees prerequisite to attending school?
I think it is, but also this is one issue doesn't fit all here.
Yeah.
There needs to be, you see, what isn't clear is that what plan the university has and what options have given students for paying fees.
Right.
Because the university wasn't created when Mr. Paul Wainaina became VC.
And he didn't become VC last term,
No,
last
he didn't
semester
become
either.
last term. So the question is, what actually is happening?
What's going on?
What's the issue here?
Yes, what's really going
What's
on?
bubbling under?
Yes, because the issue of fees is something the university understands very well.
Very well. Yes.
Yes.
And I think there are many students who have payment plans and things like that
Yes.
in place to
Yes.
sort out your fee areas. So it's obviously
But like with most things, we will get to hear.
At some point,
we will
We will get to know what's actually
it'll
happening.
come out.
Yes, it'll come out.
Nation headline: Jubilee rift, Ruto Tuju feud over Paul. The DP has announced party elections set for early next year, and that has stirred up a hornet's nest in the ruling party, with the Secretary General saying only the National Executive Council can call for the vote, and members of the Kieleweke camp are accusing the DP of staging a coup.
Well, political entertainment.
This is it. This is it.
Yes, it is.
Basically, we have discussed this before. Is
Yes,
Jubilee basically going to survive until 2022? Are these the signs of end times? Are these the signs where we see now somebody coming and saying, no, we have held elections and I'm the new party leader, or I'm the new chairman, or this person is the new chairman? And then we have Jubilee Asili and Jubilee Kenya. We've seen Jubilee Kenya, Jubilee Asili. We've been there before.
We have, but I would ask a different question, really. What is the game that is being played here? Because the media have fed the public with this particular narrative that Jubilee is actually disintegrating. Are they really disintegrating?
Or are they playing a game?
Or is this a game that is being played? Is this rift that they speak of, does it actually really exist? Well, I have to ask that question because
true.
These are politicians, and politicians that when you look at the
Have you seen any
crisscrossing,
signs of that would bring in doubt to that?
that
Make
they're
you
breaking
feel-
up?
Yeah.
Well, all I've seen is drama, and drama in politics is just that, drama. I haven't seen anything concrete to convince me that there's actually a problem. Not really.
Maybe this one is heading there.
Look,
When you
every
talk about the
time,
Jubilee
every
election.
time, there was a reshuffle not very long ago.
Yep.
And the narrative is that people who are supposedly aligned to the deputy president are being targeted. This one hears all the time. Okay?
Yes.
And they're being moved in to do something or the other. Everything is pegged to the deputy president. And I'm saying, maybe, but it's too often and too many people. And if you look at the numbers, then you're saying, so if the DP has the sort of power that is being claimed he has, and so someone somewhere seeking is trying to dismantle it, then the question I would ask is, so who's been running this country? Is it the president or the DP? Because it seems like the DP was the person with the real power.
Yep.
And that's the power that's being dismantled. And I'm saying it doesn't sound true to me because the president is the president.
Right. It doesn't sound true that he had that kind of power that everyone purports that he does.
Well, that's what I'm questioning.
Yeah.
And if I question that, then I would question the existence of this rift that we keep being told about. Does it actually exist?
Yeah. Let's see. But I think this party is not going to survive until 2022.
It was a special purpose vehicle. This we all knew. And one of the partners is no longer going to be president. Okay?
Yep.
So the question he won't be president. The question one asks is, so what is going to hold the party together? Because it was two people who led this particular, and it was for this purpose. And so.
Interesting to see.
All right. The drama in the Nairobi County Assembly, you know that drama, right? Where the Beatrice Elachi, the speaker, went and stormed and retook control of her office and kicked out the majority leader who had taken
political entertainment.
More political. So the Secretary General of Jubilee has actually called in the Jubilee MCAs and told them, come, let's talk about this. Because you guys, what you're doing, it's embarrassing the party, and we need to see how to solve this matter amicably. This is a scaffold that needs to be sorted out. So he has summoned them, Raphael Tuju, the Secretary General. Let's see what they say when they go there to meet him.
But of interest is something that's happening outside this particular country. It's happening within Syria and Turkey. President Donald Trump, in a speech, has made it clear that he wants to keep one of his election promises, and he wants to remove American troops in certain parts of Syria. And unfortunately, this opens a floodgate of something that is of profound proportions. Because the region where the troops were, a region that are controlled by the Kurds. Now, we first heard of the Kurds as a group in Iraq when the then president,
Saddam Hussein,
the late president, not just the then, he is definitely late president, focused a lot of his attack on this particular group of people.
Yeah.
And they also reside in Syria. And the Turkish government has also had it for them. And it's the presence of the American troops that have actually kept the Turks at bay.
At bay, yeah.
Now, with the removal, it looks like
the line is open.
They're coming at them.
Not only they are, not they're planning to, they already are.
Yeah.
Erdogan has unleashed all his fury on them. But the issue of Turks and Turkey, now Turks and Kurds, the Turkey and Kurds, what exactly is a beef? It
didn't start yesterday.
It's not. Yes, it's not a new one.
No.
Remember, their leader was actually grabbed in Kenya.
No, you are talking about something modern. You need to understand the history of the Ottoman Empire. That's how far back it goes.
All the
problem,
way.
It's just like we see the rumblings of the Israel-Palestine, and we think it's just a 10-year problem. It goes way, way, way back. We just see current rumblings, a shoot here and there. However, it's a deep-seated. It really does go very far back, and to understand that, you'd have to really go back in history to get it. On a lighter note, there has, literally lighter, an albino zebra has been spotted in the Mara. And this is just weeks after there was a polka-dotted zebra that was spotted in the park. We don't know what's going on.
What's happening to our zebras?
No, well, clearly, the end of the world.
The end of the world is upon us.
What's happening to zebras?
Polka dots, albinos. You know, the zebras are losing their stripes.
You know that whole ring of, do zebras have stripes? Next, we're going to actually start seeing pigs flying.
Pigs have flown. Pigs have actually flown.
Pigs have actually flown. So if zebras no longer have stripes, as a matter of fact, then...
Eric, these are just one or two zebras.
Yeah, but one or two zebras in the span of a month?
Yes.
Hey, boss.
Are they in the same region?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all the Mara. It's in
They're
the
in the
Mara.
Mara.
Yeah.
In fact, if it was widespread, then I would say. But if it's the same region, then I'm sure experts will explain this to us.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tax my mind. I'm just going to say, wonderful that we have diversity among the zebra community.
Well, the KWS has said that, a warden has said that albinism in wildlife was as normal as is in humans. So we just tend to think that because they're animals that they don't have. But yeah, we're all animals. But yeah, it's very normal. It's just that we don't see them as often.
We don't see. Now we have more visibility of them.
Now you see.
News is spreading faster.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a situation. Kenya's biggest conversation We are here today, Friday. We're taking a look at many of the things that have been reported in the news. Remember, you can download the Standard e-paper app on Google Play Store and Apple App Store. And for just one standard fee, you'll be able to access all of Standard newspapers publications. The Nairobian, you have the Standard Everyday, and you've got all the others like the Pambazuko, the Mount Kenya Star. That is the Standard e-paper. Download it on your Google Play Store and Apple App Store, and you have access to everything. Good morning. It's 6:30.
It's not every day that you meet a centenarian. Take, for example, the Standard Group. We have been here for over 100 years, and our secret to longevity has been but one: the magic of service. The magic of serving you, our customers, has given us so much life, and we could not have been here without you. We thank you, and we will continually endear to serve you to our level best. The Standard Group Customer Service Week. You mean the world to us.
How well do you know your country? Given a chance, where would you go? Not so many places, huh? Would you even know how to get there? Yes? No? Maybe? I don't know. Well, oh ye gallivanters and tourists alike, here is your chance to not only know, but also visit amazing destinations in Kenya with complete recommendations, guides, and tips on accommodation spots, wellness stops, and food joints all over Kenya. How, you ask? Courtesy of the biggest locally targeted tours and travel magazine, Travelogue. Travelogue is your monthly pull-out magazine in the Standard newspaper every first Thursday of the month. With Travelogue, enjoy the beauty of life that Kenya has to offer. Visit exotic and hidden destinations, be part of amazing conservation campaigns and projects as you simply enjoy Kenya. It's our way of putting Kenya on the map. Grab your copy and be aboard the fun wagon as you improve the quality of your local travel experiences. Travelogue, Jione Kenya. Tired of living your same old life? Need to spice it up and add some flavor? Well, we can help you go from living to living it up. East Africa, are you ready to be a part of the most vibrant entertainment scene with the best, freshest music, travel tips and destinations, fashion, tech and health trends, as well as your favorite celebrities' lifestyles? Introducing your favorite entertainment magazine, Pulsar, the ultimate all-in-one guide that will give you more meaning to life. Catch up with your celebrity writers and contributors to stay up to date with what's happening around you, where and how you can be a part of all that. The lifestyle guide that has been missing in your life. Pulsar. Live it up.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
So after yesterday, where we had good road, what would it be, compliance? Today might be a little bit different. So far, Ngong Road is not looking so bad. We're getting round to 7 o'clock in about half an hour, and everybody's going to get on the roads, unless there might be a little bit of a hangover from yesterday. So not so many vehicles on the road as yet, and it is a Friday. So let's see what happens coming out of the short holiday. All right, trying to get into the CBD. There are still showers. It's raining in certain parts of the city, and that might slow down traffic in some areas, but we'll see, like I said, what it looks like later. But for now, nothing so terrible or out of the ordinary. You can get where you're going if you're on the road now. If you're not, you might now then get into traffic. Do let us know if you see something that we need to let everybody else know about, and we will be sure to do that. The number is 0719 012 600.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. It's 25 minutes to 7 o'clock. Good morning. In the Situation Room, I'm Eric Latif. We have Ndu Oko on CT Muga this morning. 94.4 in Nairobi, 87.9 in Mombasa, 102.5 Kisumu, 96.0 Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, 90.9 in Nyeri, Malindi, 97.6. Every morning in the Situation Room, we live stream on Facebook. That's Spice FM KE on Facebook. And also we are live streaming on our YouTube, Spice FM KE, and on our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. This being the first and only 24-hour audio-visual radio, it means that when we say we're live streaming, we're basically live streaming audio and video. You can watch us. We've got cameras in the studio. We've got lights. Everything. So you basically participate in this conversation, and you can call in at any time, 0719-012-600 to chime in on the conversations that we're having. So our first conversation this morning, we've seen what's in the headline, right? Jubilee having like some sort of a tussle, like back and forth here. Are they going to break up? Are they not going to break up? Is this the end of Jubilee? And just basically looking at what has happened in the headlines lately in Jubilee. So we saw Jubilee saying we're not going to participate in the Kibra by-election. Then we saw Jubilee actually front a candidate for the Kibra by-election. Then we saw the Secretary General saying, no, that wasn't a list that was supposed to go to the IEBC for the Kibra by-election. We haven't picked anyone. We need to have a process of picking somebody. Then we saw the party pick somebody. Back and forth. We know that there is a Kieleweke wing of Jubilee, there is Tanga Tanga wing of Jubilee, and there is the other one, which is bringing in people from Jubilee and others from ODM.
Eric, you're struggling with this one.
Yes. So there are so many. It appears like Jubilee is basically getting fractious. So when Deputy President William Ruto, the Deputy Party Leader William Ruto, says, let's prepare for party elections next year, and then the Secretary General, who is a spokesman for the party, says, we're not going to have elections next year until the top organ of the party basically decides when the elections are going to be held. We've seen the party Secretary General say, which is an obvious thing, that we don't have a candidate for 2022 as Jubilee. That has to be decided at the right appropriate forum by the appropriate organ. I think Jubilee is not going to survive until 2022. We'll get to 2022 with different parties, not Jubilee. We'll go back maybe to the original TNA URP under different names. But the different factions, those who came from URP will have a new party. Those who came from TNA will have a new party. Those who came from the Mbas will maybe go back to the Mbas. Kalembendile may take back his tip, and such kind of things.
If
Jubilee is done and dusted.
If the facts that you've stated, because these are facts, are the only facts available, then yes, your analysis and the conclusion thereof would be absolutely correct. But these are political parties, and within it they have politicians. And one of the things that we know about politicians the world over, and especially the Kenyan politicians, they are a rather fluid group of people. What you're seeing is the fluidity playing out. People jostling. Remember, after 2022, President Uhuru will no longer be president and cannot be president again.
Yep.
So there will be a gap. And much as promises, we are told again from the media and from what utterance we've heard about who should vie for the presidential nomination in Jubilee, politicians who feel they're worth their weight in salt, and this is really all of them. Yes, it is. They will want to ensure that they take full advantage of this gap.
To position themselves.
Right. Look, right now, if you look at our papers, we are being told that there is a serious struggle within State House. Why? Because our head of civil service is set to retire. So there's already jostling. Now, if there's jostling for that particular post, this is a government position, not an election.
Not a party position.
No. Where it is decided, there are people who now you tell me, how much jostling do you think there would be? You know, we keep talking about...
You'd expect there to be, John. Basically,
yes, I would.
This is an obvious thing.
I would.
It's a political party, it's an organ, and of course the organ will always have leadership wrangles. You know, somebody coming in and wanting to take over, somebody coming in and wanting to be the leader of the party. We see this everywhere. But in this particular case of Kenya, parties are individuals. They are not institutions or organs.
No.
So when individuals disagree, they part ways.
Eric, there are institutions because party leaders also are institutions.
Oh,
Yes. I mean, look at it in that light.
yeah.
But the thing you need to bear in mind is this. We are talking about something that is actually normal in any political arena. Normal. It's not unusual. 2017 is an issue in that two things. One, we seem to want to change the constitution to change the nature in which our president becomes president or how we manage our system.
Yeah.
Want to move it from a presidential system to a parliamentary
system.
Yes. And then we have an election in 2022, which now will usher in a new president. Of course, it's going to be jostling.
Yeah, there will be jostling.
Lots of it.
I think we would be worried if there was not. If everybody just kind of like took it sitting down and said, okay, well, this is coming. Let's just sit down and see how it's going to play out. For no, people are looking for where they will be able to place themselves. That everybody's looking for positioning, and this is a time to kind of move things because they know. I mean, the time is coming. Whether it's too soon for this kind of jostling to happen or not is a totally different story. But the fact that people are moving about, people are checking it out and seeing, okay, where would I be able to fit most? When then do I need to start letting people know that yes, here I am? And this is why we have some of the utterances that we see being made by certain politicians at different times, not necessarily because they have something valid to say, but because they want it to be made clear that they are in positions and they're ripe for the picking, that they are ripe for the picking. And that's why they say some of the things that they say, because it's that time. It's the mood has already been set.
And also, people do and say certain things because they feel that the individual they claim they're aligned to
will like it.
Yes, and actually represent some benefits that they can and might receive. A lot of these actions have to do with something in the future, not necessarily in the present. Because if you're already an MP, you are an MP.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
But other perks could come your way. Other things could be arranged. This realignment we're talking about now, it's going to shift greatly. When it is clear who the front runners are, we already think we do know. But 2022 is a long
2 years away.
Yeah, in politics, a long time.
Yeah.
Believe me, there'll be even greater shifting. There'll be movements.
But do you think we'll have a party called Jubilee?
You see,
we still have NARC and NARC Kenya. But do you think this Jubilee, as it looks now, will still look the same?
Well, I mean,
no. The answer to that is not a question of whether Jubilee will be what it is. Will it be seen as a vehicle that can actually propel the interests of the people who are already aligned to it?
Oh, yeah.
And
Will
deliver
it
that
attract as many people
Yes.
as it does
If
right
it can,
now?
it'll exist in the manner it currently exists. Remember,
I tell you, it will not.
KANU is our oldest party, still
Yes.
exists. Third tier at best, okay?
Yeah.
Right now.
NARC that came to power in 2002 after KANU
Oh, that one died.
still exists.
For all
NARC is still there.
Yes, but
Ask
for-
Charity Ngilu.
You
She'll
see,
tell you
the
NARC
power,
still
the
exists.
power of a political party is not in just a few memberships, but it's in the pointed role it is perceived to play in the politics of the country. NARC plays next to zero right now.
Yeah.
PNU plays close to
This
zero.
is the same
it's
thing.
not, and you think you
PNU,
need to
NARC
also ask
Kenya
in
as
terms
well.
of, are they even seen? Because when made mention of, your mind tends to go back and think, oh, right.
Yeah, who's NARC?
There was a party like that existed. And so if you have to do that, if your mind has to kind of play some gymnastics to remember who they were, then you can imagine that is what is happening amongst the general populace, because they don't feel its impact. They don't see it happening. They don't see where they are,
But
even
remember,
now.
NARC disintegrated even when they were in power. Remember?
Yes.
That was the uniqueness of NARC. So people who are already aligned to it, some people moved away. Jubilee had been fairly intact. First term, second term.
Jubilee in the first time was not a party. It was a coalition. Remember, there was
Yes.
URP.
You see.
So the Jubilee coalition, and then they made the mistake of going into a party, because I think that's why they made a mistake.
You see, ask me, Eric, do people actually remember URP? People think of Jubilee. Because it's the same people.
They don't remember TNA.
No,
either.
they don't. So when they got into power and you're seeing the same people who are in power, so the TNA, this, the other, the construct, yes, it can be a lively subject for discussion. But the name that people remember is Jubilee.
True.
Because it's the same players.
Yeah.
So your question is, it's a little too early to say.
This is true. And
No, to me, it's not early.
But the pure
I can
fickle,
call
the
it.
pure fickle nature of the way politics plays out in this country it's already indicative of the fact that it may not last. The way in which Jubilee came into being in the first place was kind of like, okay, we need a vehicle to deliver a certain thing. We need a vehicle to convince those within the arena in which we are playing that this is a better option, or that all of us need to come together under the Jubilee umbrella.
Yeah.
We've already said that time is today, by the end of today, we could see a shift. 2 years is a very long time. By the time we heard of Jubilee, how long did it take Jubilee to come into existence when URP and TNA, and then all of a sudden, it was in less than months, we saw Jubilee come together. It's possible. Right now, it may be solid, but what we're saying is it could be holding strong, holding fast to whatever ideals allowed it to come into being or existence in the first place. However, but by nature of the politics in this country, anything can happen at any time. You may hold a fast view today of how this is going to work or how it's going to hold fast.
But
it could change in a month.
There's nothing
Everything
that you're
could fall
saying
apart
that
by
is actually
November.
going
Everything
contrary to
could
what
fall
I'm saying.
apart by November 7th.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's before 2022, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It could
what
all
I am
change.
saying is, looking at the history of this
Or
republic,
things could remain the same. You know what
looking
they
at the
say.
history of political parties and politicians in this republic, and the way we are saying that Jubilee is actually Ruto and Uhuru, right? And everybody else coalesced around them because they saw that these two have a polling power even with the crowd. And if I ride on this party, I could get to power. Now, looking at what's happening in Jubilee, where we have, yes, and CT is saying it correctly, one of the leading lights in Jubilee is not going to be in seeking the same elective position next year. The deputy is going to be seeking that position next year. And the people who are aligned to the person who's exiting don't feel like they want to support the deputy.
But it's when dynamics change or are altered that you then see a shift in a name that the party will take. What was the difference then between URP and TNA? Apart from them coming together and creating a new name, it was the same people playing on more or less the same stage, was it not?
Yes.
And so that's what we saw.
It was actually Ruto who went into a party that had been formed, that he joined URP, and he gave it...
And still brought in the same people that they were operating with. So what we're saying is, Jubilee will just be the same thing. It may take on a different name, but it will still be the Jubilee that we see, which will still have been the TNA and URP that you saw before. So it takes on a different name. Maybe they're going to change the tires a little bit, but it's going to be the same vehicle that they're hoping is going to now deliver the agenda that they want. Could be a different name, but it's going to be the same
like the way we had NARC transforming into PNU in the next election. One election, it's NARC. In the next election,
you've heard of the term that, I read it in the papers, I hear it in the radio, something called KANU orphans.
Yes.
Yes. It explains it. You see, because KANU was the preeminent and the only party in this country for so long, almost every politician in this country, literally every politician in this country, well, literally, every politician has been a member of KANU at some point.
Of course.
Yes. So, if you start looking at the way in which people move around parties, start there.
Right.
And then move forward, and you'll see people, they've given musical chairs even a new paradigm. And it won't stop. And if you look at the dynamics...
As opposed to ODM, I think ODM in 2022, ODM will still be intact. It will still be ODM.
It will be ODM.
And the followers of ODM will be a strong party.
Yes.
Okay, as a unit. It has held since 2005 when it was formed. It has held. Jubilee was unknown parties called TNA, URP in 2012. In 2013, they came to power as a Jubilee coalition. Then they formed themselves into a party and they called themselves Jubilee Party. In 2022, yes, we will have a Jubilee Party, just like we still have PNU and NARC and NARC Kenya and Ford, but it will not be a strong party. The leading lights of Jubilee will have moved. And this is William Ruto will have moved out of Jubilee, and the people in Kieleweke will have moved out of Jubilee, and Jubilee will be left with a few people.
So, what you're saying is that Ruto himself would leave and go back to URP and make URP the strong arm in terms of party politics?
I don't know whether he'll go back to URP, but the strong party of 2022 that will be running against ODM is not going to be called Jubilee.
You know what you've introduced here is something that maybe we need to look at, perhaps in greater detail. When the former president of this country, Daniel Arap Moi, allowed Kenyans to practice multi-party politics, one of the things that happened, and this has been pointed out very many times on this show, many political parties were formed. And many of them, if not all, were tribal-based.
Yep.
So you'd find that even within every geographical area, there was a prominent party, other small parties that nobody knew of, but they existed. Now, this proliferation of parties, I argue, made it possible for Moi to keep winning his elections.
Yes.
Because if you start off with, say, which part of the country should we choose? Choose any.
Mandera.
Coast.
Yes,
Mandera.
exactly.
So let's go to Mandera.
Let's go to Mandera. Kanu, okay?
Yes.
You come to Eastern. There are some people who were part of DP.
Yeah.
You went to Eastern, the Cumberland. They had their own party. By the way, it's Ngilu who was at the fore then, not so much Kalonzo. Kalonzo was part of the government.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you came to Masai Land, mixed. You came to Central. They were nicely divided. Okay. So you'd find President Uhuru on the one hand.
There's Kanu.
There's
DP.
There's
Matiba.
There's Matiba. So
Ford Asili.
Ford this, Ford the other, Ford come today, Ford come the day after. So what happened was Raila had his own party. LDP, Ford Kenya had. So people divided their votes really nicely. In that period, the president never got up to even 40% of the votes.
Simple majority.
Just simple majority. But he kept winning because of the very thing that Eric is saying. Now, Eric is introducing this topic and saying that is what we are likely to see. Now, if you are the deputy president, why would you create a scenario that would lessen your chances of being president?
Right, and that's exactly what would happen if you would, stave off and form
So
your
you
own
see
party.
him remaining in Jubilee?
Why would he leave?
Then he'll kick out the bad apples. Who he considers the bad apples. Kieleweke is going to be out of Jubilee. Maybe they'll actually create themselves a Jubilee Kenya.
Maybe.
Jubilee Kenya, Jubilee Asili.
Maybe. We saw how Ford disintegrated into
Ford Kenya, Ford Asili.
Ford Siukweli, Ford yesterday, Ford today, and
Today
day
and
tomorrow.
day tomorrow.
We saw all that. But the point is, how did that benefit the party?
Exactly.
Maybe this is actually what Ruto is doing. By holding elections, he wants to weed out the bad apples. I do not want to go into 2022 with people who are fighting me from within. Jubilee is going to be my party. This is going to be the name I use. It's a name, right? It's a name I'm going to use. And then you guys are not going to have any position.
This is a
anywhere.
scenario that has played out before.
We've seen it before.
You disintegrate the party. Essentially what you've done is you have reduced the power of the party.
Right.
So who are the new people he's going to bring in? Because usually if you want to get rid of people,
you bring new
you're
partners.
Considering, yes, who are these new partners he's going to bring in?
And where are they coming from?
Yes. Because these new partners already feel they already have an alignment elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Or they have their own alignment.
He'll bring in people. You see what he's trying to do with Dr. Halwale. So I think he'll try to create alliances in Western.
You are suggesting that
And
Dr. Halwale has a following in Western
These
Kenya.
are hitherto Ford Kenya people.
Then he even went to New Ford Kenya.
He may actually go on, New Ford Kenya, right? There's actually New Ford Kenya.
There is.
The one from Moses Wetangula is which one?
It's Ford Kenya.
And then the New Ford Kenya
is also New Ford Kenya.
New Ford Kenya.
Yes.
All right. And the one from Muskari Kombo is
Ford Kenya.
Hey.
Do you see?
So he will seek one of those Ford Kenyas. Bring them to the fore.
But you see,
And how is he going? On what is he building? On what would he build? Because there's got to be something that party affords you.
Tanga will be the new
apart
Jubilee.
from a platform to stand on, there must be something else that it affords you then to go in and use it.
You see what he's
to
doing with
now
Tanga?
solidify your place and solidify your position. And I don't see
Eric,
that
consider
here.
there's a new entrant into this political arena that we didn't have in the last election, the one previous to that. It's the changing the constitution to allow in for a parliamentary system.
Yep.
When you have a parliamentary system, you're talking coalition. That's what you're really talking. So this is the time for, if someone wants to form a party, this would be a good time, because you never know. You may be that small party that allows you to have that particular majority in parliament. You just might be.
Yep.
Because if you have two strong parties and you want a majority in parliament, you don't need another big party. You just need a small party.
Get a small party, then you win,
boost your
cross the
numbers.
line.
Yes. So if you are saying that you have this group of people, say for instance ODM, who are not showing any signs of disintegrating in the near future.
Yeah.
No signs. And you're in this party which is already strong, why would you reduce its power and then go fishing for new partners when you already have partners within your own party?
Within your party.
Why would you do that?
Exactly.
Because
unless they've given you a false sense of partnership that you are using now. unless
You have said it.
unless
That's
that partnership
it.
is not there.
That's it.
That's why you would
Kieleweke.
then want to go out and look for another partnership. However, we don't even know that those people, if
Kieleweke
there's
is
existence of
opposition
such to
inside.
give you that.
Kieleweke is opposition inside Ruto's Jubilee. That's what Kieleweke is. They're basically saying, we don't recognize you. We have nothing. Kitaeleweka, we owe you nothing. We don't owe you allegiance. We don't owe you support for 2022.
Why would they say this? Apart from just political expediency, why would they say this? Because there's what's
Because
obvious.
they're hoping to get something.
Well,
out of it.
Politicians are being politicians, isn't it?
yes.
Okay. But this is a narrative that has played out in the public arena for so long, and this no debt, none debt. It keeps playing. I don't understand it. What is it? What debt? What the hell are they talking about? I said, okay, what on God's good earth are they talking about? Right. Sorry about the hell bit, yes.
Your-
In your opinion, I mean, there's...
I think
What
that
he
people keep
feels,
talking.
I think it's clear that, the vice president feels that he is owed, or the deputy president feels that he is owed for having brought a certain percentage of the vote in order to put Uhuru Kenyatta into power.
it was a partnership.
And so it was a partnership that then guaranteed that he would be president for the 10 years after 2022.
Yeah.
And this is what he went in believing. And you can see, sometimes you can actually see it in his face when he speaks and makes some of the utterances that he does. He really does feel that he is owed the 10 years because he worked tooth and nail to
worked for the
make
party,
sure that
yes.
Uhuru
The
went
party
to
ought
the
to support
presidency,
him.
Excuse me?
according to him. All right?
Politicians tend to work for themselves.
Right, of course, but it was for him. Do you think he was actually working for Uhuru?
Okay.
He put the numbers there so
Carry
that he
on.
could now.
Carry
It
on.
was he in this sense he had foresight. He was not doing it for Uhuru. He was doing it for the promise that would actually benefit him after 2022.
Yes.
Because he saw that let me do all this work now because they will make me president based
And lay
on
the
what they've
ground
said.
for myself.
Unfortunately, he didn't understand the way we do that politicians are fickle and that things can actually change.
The one thing I think the deputy president
He
understands,
understands very
that
well.
thing, something he understands.
He's a
understands it
political animal.
profoundly.
He
Did he
understands
really?
the animal.
Did he really believe that he would do all the work and that he would then get the presidency and nobody would turn on him, or did he expect the kinds of infighting and the kind of what you call betrayal that he's seeing now? Because these are the same individuals who told him previously that yes, don't worry, help us, bring in the numbers, help us get that vote casted in our favor.
You brought
and
in an
he
interesting
knew.
word, didn't do? Betrayal.
Yeah, because that's what he sees it. What is it?
Actually,
Betrayal in the party.
Tuteleweka.
In politics,
They say we don't owe you
does
anything.
that word really have the same meaning as it does in everyday life?
Betrayal.
Yes. Does it have the same meaning in politics? At what point does a politician betray another? At what?
At the last minute.
When you start from the premise that politicians look after their own interest, okay? And if their interest is served in following you, they follow you. If it stops being, they move elsewhere.
They move.
They haven't betrayed you.
They've just
They're
done
just
what-
living their
they've
life.
they've just
done what
perpetuated
they
their
do.
own self-interest.
Yes, they've done what they do.
So if that's the case, why then is the deputy president so sour-faced about this? He should understand. Look, people change their minds. This is what they do. They're going for their own self-interest. They really don't care about you as an individual. Whether you wanted to be president, you did your work, you did your job,
as
you
a-
brought us the vote, Uhuru was put there, and then as time goes on, we change
As
our
a political
tune.
leader, what you want to do as well is, as you're protecting your own self-interest, you do that by making sure that you keep your allies close.
Yeah, but in this
And then
case,
you look at people who are opposing you, people who are gonna fight you, people who are not going by what you stand for, and you kick them out. You push them further out. That's what happens in politics. It's political party coups all the time. This is what is happening. This talk of let's have an election next year is one of those things that I keep saying. Politicians don't just make statements because. Ruto didn't just make that statement, let's have bad grassroots elections next year, let's organize ourselves just because.
Of course not.
There is exactly what you're saying. And this is what I'm calling out. I'm saying Ruto is basically preparing to kick out Kieleweke out of Jubilee.
And I'm saying, if that were the case, and that's a scenario to believe in, then he's preparing to lose the next election.
So that's what would happen for him.
He
Oh,
would
if he
lose.
did that, absolutely.
He
You,
will
you
form
disintegrate the power
The
base,
bedrock
yes, of where you
of
are
your
at.
deliverance. My goodness.
Well, then you are actually cutting off your own feet.
You're going to sleep on the floor in the rain, my friend.
What do you think? Is Jubilee going to disintegrate or not? 0719-012-600. You can also post your comment on Facebook, Spice FM KE, where we're live streaming. And also on Twitter through our hashtag Situation Room. Good morning. It's 7 o'clock.
Sugar and spice.
spice up your life. Traffic.
All right. Sorry. Thika Road now has joined the foray and there's traffic all over. Everybody who did not go out yesterday is now out. Trying to get to the CBD, moving through the Thika Superhighway is a nightmare of epic proportions already today. The same Wayaki Way traffic has started on Wayaki Way as far as the Udhiru Junction and also through Kabete. Even inside in the suburbs of Kileleshwa, there is traffic as well, trying to head out towards the Westlands and Chiromo area. So yes, it's 7 o'clock on a Friday morning. There's traffic all over the city. It's something that you're going to have to wait out, trying to get through and where you're going. It'll dissipate soon enough. Something out of the ordinary that you see that we need to know about, give us a call or send us a message. But for now, be patient. You'll get there.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have Jerry Thorne, lawyer, political strategist, an insider in the corridors of power, ready to take on any side of the debate with her signature eloquence and grit. C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 o'clock. Good morning, and how are you doing? Welcome to The Situation Room, broadcasting around the country. 94.4 in Nairobi, 87.9 in Mombasa, 102.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, Nyeri, 90.9 Malindi, 97.6. Every morning we live stream as well on Facebook, Spice FM KE, and we also do that on our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. Actually, on the website, we live stream throughout the day, 24 hours a day. You can watch us everywhere, anywhere you are in the world. Our hashtag is Situation Room. Our Twitter handle is SpiceFMKE. Please follow us. Now, we are talking about what we've seen in the headlines. Deputy President, who is also the Deputy Party Leader of Jubilee, has said we are going to have party elections next year. I'm asking specifically Jubilee members that as a democratic party that believes in open, transparent competition, each one of us will compete for whatever position that they are looking for. To kick off the process early next year, we'll have elections of the party countrywide so that we can have a grassroots network competitively identified to manage the affairs of our party. Then in comes this party Secretary General, Raphael Tuju. He says, no. This is not how you announce party elections. The National Executive Council of the party is the one that decides when elections are going to be held, how they will be held, and how they will be conducted. So here is the Deputy Party Leader and here's the Secretary General of the same party talking about elections, but not agreeing whether elections are going to happen next year. So it appears that Ruto has actually taken the lead on this. He's saying, let's have elections next year. And what I'm saying is, by taking that move, what Ruto is basically seeking to do is to have his supporters galvanize his support for the party and kick out those who oppose him in the party. And this is Reid Kieleweke. So the Jubilee that we will have in 2022 is going to be Jubilee Tanga Division. The Kieleweke guys may go and form their own Jubilee Kieleweke, or they may go and join ODM, or they'll form their own party called the Handshake Party. Whatever happens, the Jubilee that we see today is not the Jubilee that we'll see in 2022. It will be markedly different.
Well, that's what would happen if he actually did go ahead and did that. That's what you would see. If he were to make the mistake of disintegrating the party, he would not have any kind of bedrock to stand on politically, and he would definitely lose the election, and he would not be a viable option for a selection. Even now, things are shaky at best. And if Ruto would want to go and pull the party apart, as it were, to see if he could then solidify his position as a viable candidate for the election in in 2022, it would be a mistake, and he would be putting his foot in his mouth in this case.
Let's open up the phone line 0719-012-600. What do you think about this? Good morning, Teddy.
Yeah, good morning. How are you guys?
Good morning, fine.
Good morning.
You.
Yeah, I think today's conversation is very good. One thing we need to understand, Ruto is very bright. And this guy is working, just, in a football team, we have the guy who plays like an obstructor. He obstructs others so that other players can get a chance to score. So he has some players, like, for example, the MPs that he normally goes with.
The Tangatanga MPs.
They work, the Tangatanga MPs, they work as players, and in a way, he also becomes as a turbo to make it look more like to energize the guys. So the point here is, Jubilee is a party that was used just like a bridge, just to walk these guys from 2017 to another thing, because ODM was becoming powerful. And something you need to understand, many people many brains together cannot work. Because one thing, we need to know that if you are many people there and you agree, both of you agree on everything, there must be some people who are fools there. So the point here is, this guy cannot stay in Jubilee, and that's why you can see a country like Nigeria, we have 91 parties. So the point is, pardon?
Go ahead.
What's your point?
Yeah, the point is, Ruto is trying to obstruct this guy so that he can get a chance to penetrate. And let me tell you one thing, this guy
To penetrate
knows
where?
how to
He's the deputy party leader.
I understand. But the point is, remember, this guy has always helped many people to achieve power. Let me give you a very good example, like 2007. He helped Raila. To be honest, Raila passed 2007.
To be honest.
But
No, he's
yes,
telling us according to him. The honesty
That's
is according to him.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, according to me, he passed 2007. 2013, no. But the point is, he helped him, but he tried to sideline him. The same way he has done to Uhuru. So this guy, now it is his time, and he knows if he plays with these dynasties, he'll never get this chance.
So what is he doing? So tell me, what are you saying he's exactly doing with the party? You're saying he's trying to sideline people so that he can be at the lead, at the helm. So who are these people that he's trying to sideline?
He's trying to obstruct these guys so that they can be confused.
And these are his people that we're talking about, that he's looking at trying to obstruct his own people.
There are those people like who are like Tangatanga people, right?
Yeah.
Tangatanga and Kieleweke. Remember, these are two groups in one party, and they are opposing each other.
Yes.
So through this, they are talking about Ruto. And when they talk about Ruto, they're publicizing him. Just like the way you can see in America.
He's using two sides of the same coin, basically, to propel himself.
Exactly, and he's going to penetrate because these people are going to form alliances. And
so, do you think the issue that I'm saying this morning? Do you think Jubilee will still look the same way it's looking today in 2022, with all the current members still being Jubilee?
You'll remember me one day, 2022, when it comes. Ruto will not be in Jubilee.
He will not be in Jubilee.
Yes, you'll remember me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teddy. Have a good morning. 0719-012-600. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, clearly, one of the things that our caller has actually done, he has clearly told us that he's a prophet. And political prophesying is a tricky business. But if you look at the points as he has presented them, his conclusion is easy to justify.
Yeah.
If you look at the points, yes. But in this particular matter that we're discussing, there is more to this matter than what he has said.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I think it goes deeper and wider than all just that. If to me, if you would want to disintegrate the party, as it were, whereby you have the kind of support that you do on whatever level. Disintegrating it would be essentially politically shooting yourself in the foot. You do that, he would not have any chance whatsoever. I know, again, it could be seen as perception or opinion, but with where he stands right now, pulling it apart, he's done. If he goes to take on a smaller party, he is not the popular option on a smaller party. This party, the platform that he has now,
is the best for him.
It's the best for him.
The way it is, even with the Kieleweke people still inside.
Where is he going to go that he would have more support than which he garners right now?
Well, he doesn't have the support of the Kieleweke people. Migori County, specifically Rongo. This is Thomas. Good morning, Thomas.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. How are you?
Fine,
Very well,
Good
thank
morning.
you.
Okay, you can hear me over there.
Yes, we can hear
Very
you.
clearly, sir.
Well,
Okay. Okay, there is something that I want you to know. Okay, let me start by saying this. An army of sheep led by a lion can defeat an army of lions led by a sheep. And this is by when someone is led by someone who is, a group of people led by someone who is very strong. However much the strong people are led by someone
who's weak.
who is not strong, who is very weak.
Yeah.
Possibly they can fail. But the strategic that Mr. Ruto is taking are right now. You see where the state of Jubilee it is.
Yep.
It is not easy to work, and for that reason, he must do a very clear calculation. Whether moving, let me tell you, when you disorganize your room and yourself and people scattered away, it is not possibly that you will gather a good number that you used to have before. So it is very difficult. However much he is planning well, but it is very difficult to gain this position at this now. Rather than someone who is very quiet and seeing how things is moving in the country, possibly this person can make it. And for this time around 2022, things gonna change in Kenya. And if you guys are not keen seeing that, where the political, the roots and even what the Wananchi is talking about, my friend, you must be surprised because no one is sure. No one is very sure. Let me tell you, even Raila is not sure that he's going to be the president of Kenya.
No one is sure.
No one is sure.
So are you agreeing with what Ndu is saying, that if Ruto disintegrates the Jubilee, then he is sure going to be a weaker candidate?
Yeah, of course he's going to be a weaker candidate.
But so are you saying that he should keep the Kieleweke people and not his people?
Yeah, that what he should do, it's that they should organize themselves in that room. You know, however much people are having different ideology.
So he should seek to make peace with them.
Yeah, they are still very important.
I see.
Let me tell you, we need one another.
Yeah.
And whenever you do away with me, it is possibly that you want to not make it.
There's something you'll be missing out on, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Hello?
Thomas.
Yeah.
Asante sana for your contribution.
Oh, thank you so much.
Have a good one, my brother. Well, so there's a lot of opinion being shared here and being told, keep your party. Make sure that you work with the people within your party. Let's see if actually he does that, because the people within that party don't want to work with him.
The thing here, when you talk about parties, we sometimes have an overcast of parties as it's known globally. But let's talk about parties as we know them in Kenya. These are fluid entities. They are fluid. And fluidity is not in the existence. A party can exist but has no power. The parties we speak of, the parties that hold sway, the parties that people recognize as having power, whether they're in the opposition or whether they're actually running the government. And at any given point in time in this country, there's no been confusion. There'll be one strong party that is in the opposition and another one that is actually running the government. Now, why would someone want to push for disintegrating a party which, as it stands, is strong, as we can see. Because you divide the party, you weaken it.
Exactly.
So how on earth does this vehicle then propel you to what you intend to do or to be, which is the president? Or who are these other people then, if that is the case, you plan to bring in, who then supplement this gap that you've actually created?
While you hope that those who are already resident within the party will be accepting of them with open arms and say, come in and let's see how we can
or
work this
the
together.
ones you have with
Not
you
possible.
that you hope that they will stay.
They will stay.
Because once you begin that hemorrhaging, once you begin that exodus, who's to say where it will stop?
How do you know when it stops?
My friend, we don't have to go far. Again, examples in this country. The gentleman who is recognized as the perennial leader of the opposition in this country is Raila Odinga. There was a time he did something which was unthinkable. He joined the ruling party KANU. People who, to put it very simply anecdotally, had given him a very hard time. Okay? But he joined them. And what did we see? He was the latest and the last entrant into this mammoth party. And then he left. The quarrel was who had been appointed or who had been nominated to be the next president. Now, this is not a constitutional monarchy. We don't have one. So you actually don't nominate a successor.
No.
People tend to vote for these people.
Yeah.
The party, he left. The party hemorrhaged. Seriously. And it continued to hemorrhage.
Right. Because when he left, he took people with him.
People followed him.
Exactly.
But actually, yes, actually, if we're to be honest, they weren't following him.
They were all leaving. Each one was going.
Yes, and they saw that their interest lay in following him. Why? Everyone knew that President Moi was not going to be president again.
Yes.
And so they in turn
If the
also lost
president
some
had
of their
a third
power.
term, they would have behaved differently.
Do you think Keleweke people will stay in Jubilee?
If
Keleweke, which
Ruto
ones?
leaves,
Keleweke are the ones who are against Ruto.
if he leaves the
No.
Do I think?
If nothing happens, do you think Keleweke people will still be in Jubilee?
If they think that the political futures can be found in staying in Jubilee, they will stay. If they don't
With
see
Ruto
it,
in it,
with or without Ruto,
don't think it
it
really
won't
matters.
matter. It won't really matter.
as their leader.
It won't really matter. But if they feel that their interests will not be represented with the party as it is and with Ruto at the helm, they will leave. They will look after their own interests. This has nothing to do with the interests of the party. The party is their vehicle. If it doesn't serve their purpose, they
will
leave the vehicle and hop onto another one.
And we're not even talking about the purpose of the country at this point. We're talking about their personal political aspirations and, plans. If it doesn't, serve those purposes, then they will go and they will find something else which does. If they're not relevant there for whatever reason, they will go and find where they're relevant. If they cannot make a name for themselves where they are, they will go and find a place where they can make a name. It's almost unfortunate that that's how we see politics playing out, but that is how we see it playing out.
So what's wrong with him reorganizing that party and making sure that, go right now? I can see that you guys are not going to work with me. Just go now.
No.
So that I know who I'm left with here.
I mean, we still have some time for that.
It's too early in the game.
Because these are people...
2020 elections,
Look,
2021.
I think this, Eric. For a fact that even these people that are saying they are the Kieleweke faction and they're so serious, my goodness, this could change in a number of months.
They could actually throw back and say, this is our man.
Our full support is thrown behind the deputy president. That's just what we see happen.
We're moving on.
It sounds humorous, but it actually is the way things happen. It's how things happen. And Kieleweke and Tanga, isn't it? Tanga could be no more in a matter of months.
How well do you know your country? Given a chance, where would you go? Not so many places, huh? Would you even know how to get there? Yes? No? Maybe? I don't know. Well, oh ye gallivanters and tourists alike, here is your chance to not only know, but also visit amazing destinations in Kenya with complete recommendations, guides, and tips on accommodation spots, wellness stops, and food joints all over Kenya. How, you ask? Courtesy of the biggest locally targeted tours and travel magazine, Travelog. Travelog is your monthly pull-out magazine in the Standard newspaper every first Thursday of the month. With Travelog, enjoy the beauty of life that Kenya has to offer. Visit exotic and hidden destinations, be part of amazing conservation campaigns and projects as you simply enjoy Kenya. It's our way of putting Kenya on the map. Grab your copy and be aboard the fun wagon as you improve the quality of your local travel experiences. Travelog, Jione Kenya.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Online, mobile, and on radio. www.spiceradio.co.ke.
This is the Situation Room on Spice FM. www.spicefm.co.ke. 94.4 in Nairobi, 7.9 Mombasa, 102.5 Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, 90.9 in Nyeri, 97.6 in Malindi. How you doing? In the Situation Room, my name is Eric Latif. We have Ndu Oko and CT Muga. Let's talk about the debt ceiling, right? So Kenya is borrowing. The day before yesterday, Parliament told us we can go all the way up to 9.
You know, there is, you can discuss this thing from the point of view of economists, people who understand this subject far, far more than I do. Or you can just look at it from the point of view of a layman. That's what I'm going to do. When you're told that Parliament has given the national government the go-ahead to borrow, it is not a bad thing, because there's no country on this planet that doesn't borrow. We all borrow for one reason or the other. And the 9 trillion, at some level, it's an astounding, shocking figure. At some level, it's just a figure, really. But the real debate, whenever we talk about public financing or we talk about the debt situation, it's not that the debt exists or that we are borrowing. What we're really discussing is, what do we put these monies that are borrowed to? That really is the discussion. And the dismay or despondency or lack of faith that is often displayed by the public arises from the fact that there's a general feeling among Kenyans that the monies that we borrow are not put to the uses that it is stated or told to us that they were borrowed for. And one sees this when, not once, not twice, but when a government project that is supposed to have, should we say, incurred a large amount of money, suddenly isn't doing what it is supposed to do. It started with the SGR. There are those who say that the cost of the SGR went threefold. It went beyond what it should have cost 3 times. There are those who say 2.5 times. It doesn't matter. The point is, it went beyond what was supposed to cost. And we borrowed to build that railway. We then borrowed to put up dams. There are others in between, but I'm talking about which stand out and which are glaring. Now, the railway, we see it. It may have issues, we see it. People board it. I have boarded it. And it actually does get to Mombasa. It leaves you somewhere in Jomvu and you have to find your way to Mombasa town. But
at least it goes somewhere.
It gets there. And the railway station in Jomvu is a beautiful thing to look at. It's better than many airports that I've seen on this continent. Just the railway station. But then there's this particular problem. We come to the dams and money was borrowed. Lo and behold, you suddenly get the impression that the department that manages our finance have changed their role. They've become illusionists. There is no dam, but the money has been spent. It's such things that make people question. When you say you want to borrow more, they say, wait, we have more of the same. But the story doesn't end there. When we are then told that we owe money, and there's money that you, the Mwananchi, has to pay, and you wonder, but how does the common Mwananchi have to pay? Well, it's because one of the ways in which the government raises money is by taxing its citizenry. And you find the government introducing new taxes. Before you can breathe in the first one, there are more taxes. So where do we stand? Where we stand is, this particular issue is going overboard, and it's not just eroding the confidence of the citizenry in the government, but it's eroding the very fabric of our nation.
Borrowing
And not utilizing the money for what it's intended.
Our problem is not borrowing, you say. Our problem is how we are spending or not spending.
Or what we say and then what we do.
What we intend to do versus what we actually do.
That is the problem. And then when we do, there are these things that we refer to as cost overruns. There's hardly any project that actually is completed within the cost that was first stipulated. It somehow, we manage to continually and continuously function beyond the limits that we had originally set. And you wonder then, so what is the budgeting for? You assume when you have a budget, due diligence has been done and it's been figured out by experts.
This is how much it's going to cost.
Yes.
And this is how the project is going to run.
Yes.
Project management.
Yes. You see, what we're really discussing here is public finance management. That's what we're discussing. Again, disclaimer, they're experts in this field. I am not taking the expert view. I'm taking the consumer of these products as a layman, as a citizen, and I'm talking about how I see it and how we see it.
Many times when you talk about this issue, actually, we end up saying, so yes, when you borrow for infrastructure, you may not see the results of the infrastructure immediately.
No,
you may
you
not
can't.
see. You won't see. You actually won't feel the impact of
You may not
infrastructure
even see it
immediately.
within the term of that presidency.
When the Thika superhighway was being constructed, well, we could see, of course, we can see what's happening on the road. We've seen people who've been moved. We've seen the trucks and the construction ongoing. But we start wondering, so this thing that we are constructing just to take people to Kibaki's hometown. In fact, that was the talk. We're spending so much money so we can expand the road that takes people to Kibaki's hometown. And then we started seeing the impact of that, the economic development along that route, the expansion of opportunities of people moving to live along Thika Road, the number of people who actually even have moved into Thika, the number of institutions that have opened up along that road. So we start seeing that later. Maybe even then what we're talking about now, borrowing and making noise about what we are borrowing, is we'll not see that until a certain stage.
Eric, we don't have to see it. You see, when you discussed public finance or public finance management, what you are not discussing at the fore, but what is really at the genesis of all is the trust in the management of our funds. And it boils down to the trust that we have in what the government tells us. Because if the government did what they did, who would question it? Who would worry? They'd say, fine. When you tell us, for instance, that you are providing affordable health care, I'm giving an example.
Yes.
And you're saying we are going to pilot this scheme in this county, the other, this is what we want to do. And we are going to use this system that is already in place called the National Hospital Insurance Fund. Okay?
Yep.
Which in many ways works. Even in the past it worked, but it was known for paying for hospital beds.
Yeah.
And it paid. There was no question about it. But then you introduce these new functions, which function, but at some point they don't. Now, it would easily be excused and they'd say, look, that's just a hitch, it will work out. But because of the constant broken promises, you then have a public that have no faith in what you tell them. They question everything. Why do you think the Huduma number issue became an issue?
Trust.
It was trust. It's not even the process. There was no trust.
Exactly.
Why are they doing this?
Why are they taking my
Even
information?
something as simple as a census that we know takes place every 10 years. Why are we having a census?
Why have we been counted?
Why are we being
Because
counted?
you're not giving the information that is required or that it's necessary for then people to make the decision. And now this trust issue you're talking about, just as an example, if an exercise such as the Huduma number would come forward again, there would be very many Kenyans who would disagree to be involved in such an exercise because of the trust issue.
It's trust.
Because now we see it coming to the fore that, okay, it was actually not a mandatory exercise to begin with. It wasn't necessary for us to do it. But that information comes out later. Like now all this borrowing that we are made to understand is necessary to push the country forward again and again and again, to the point now that where the state is borrowing, it seems, for the sake of borrowing, not because there's anything that cannot be achieved without it. It seems like, we've not reached our ceiling, so okay, we just reach it because it's
that's
there.
That's what the government says. What the citizen hears, we are going to be taxed further.
Yeah.
Exactly. But
that's what you hear.
But that is
the
what
government talks borrowing, we're
going
hear
to be
tax.
But this is essentially what
it's
happens.
for us to pay for somebody else to eat.
Yes,
because the
that's what we
authority,
hear.
because then we now hear the desperate or would be desperate cries of the tax authority to say that we need to collect a certain number, a certain amount of money by said date. Right now we're at 6.2 trillion, needs to be collected by June 2020 for them to be able to run whatever it is that they want to run.
Yeah.
But that is going to come from the 190. It's going to come from UNI. It's going to come from us. Now, there is a certain level of responsibility that the government is going to have to wear, that these officials, the people, the treasury, the budgetary arms who make these decisions is going to have to wear, because right now we're on our knees. In a couple of years, we are going to be prostrate. Right now we're on our knees in terms of how are we going to be able to pay?
You see, when you have a situation where in the country, every time you talk development, the government says this, the public hears the one constant theme, more taxation. Then you're not even discussing the management of public funds. You're discussing public mistrust of government functions.
I want to ask what would be like a very simple question, what would seem like a very simple question to answer. If we assumed that we didn't have the kind of public pilferage that we see, and we didn't have the total mismanagement of funds at a government level, don't you think we would be able to develop this country without borrowing as much as we have been in the last
within your means.
5 years? Do you think we could have been able to do it?
You're asking a question that was answered during the Kibaki era. You see, one of the things that this country has always done, and many countries do it, just to manage our budgetary needs, we borrow. It's never a huge percentage of what we earn. It's 5%, 10, 20, a small percent, just so that we've budgeted, we need to do these things, but just
we have a shortfall.
We have a shortfall. We borrow. We do this all the time. And some of the borrowing also is for restructuring. These are things that have happened in the past. And when it is explained, you can see what they're saying because you see it and you feel it. This is a national debate because you don't see these things. The thing you see is infrastructure. And then there are those who will say, yeah, but this began in the previous government. Actually, that's what they're supposed to do. Many government projects are long-term. 10, 20, 15, even more years.
They're ongoing.
Yes, they're ongoing. One government comes in, ongoing. So the credit you give this government is that they have ensured that some of these projects continue. That's a good thing. But then you borrow and tell us more things are being done.
And we can't see.
Yes, but what we do see is the money we need to repay. That we see and feel
constantly.
Or
and
we hear
feel
the
it.
constant cases of money that has been paid and something has not even begun.
We had one yesterday in the headlines, remember? Some floodlights, some lights and sound system that was to be done at a football stadium.
Yes.
Wasn't done, but we have to start paying back 330 million shillings. Gone.
Yes,
in a
gone.
1.5 billion.
Now we have
project.
another scandal. CMC wants the PS in charge of the Ministry of Interior to be taken to court because of a certain tender. Tender. This is a government tender. This is a private organization. Again, we are not. What is the paper is not what we're really discussing here.
No.
Not really. It's the same saga.
So I think just to answer what Ndu is saying, then, are we living beyond our means? And
No.
if we are, should we then just readjust?
Eric, we is who here?
Kenya.
No.
Kenya as a state.
We are
We are
being-
borrowing. We are borrowing more than we are.
We are borrowing to do
More than we're
things that we
producing.
should have been able to do or would be able to do if
Do we
did,
have
because
to do them?
Not even do we have to do them. Had we a situation where we had individuals sitting in particular positions who were not stealing state money, we would not need to borrow to now fulfill some of this development agenda that we say this is what the money is for. What did we have as the amount on the Aurora dams? Was it a staggering 65 billion? Really? How much did we, and what is our debt ceiling? 9 trillion? And we have reached it, have we not?
No, we
We're
haven't.
almost
We
there.
just
No.
extended it. We are at 5.4.
for it to be extended, it means we haven't reached it.
We
We've
are at
not reached it.
5.4, but we've been told that by
We can borrow another 4 trillion.
Yeah, by 2024.
All right, so we had dams that should have been constructed, 65 billion. That money, we don't know where it is. Don't you think that we would have made a significant dent in how we would then be able to operate economically? Don't you think that that money would have gone to certain projects and then we would not have to raise the debt ceiling?
I think this is the debate that even our politicians want us to have to distract us from the question we should be asking them. Why are they allowing this thing when they very well know what it's going to bring about? What do they stand to benefit?
Yeah, what's in it for them?
What's in it for them? This isn't a question of national development.
It also
Because
poses the
in
threat of
2024, they will not be in where the position they will be. So it's like they're saying, let's throw this public to the dogs.
So now we're looking at an election coming on in the next 2 years.
Yes.
It's not preposterous to say that this debt ceiling being raised so that there can be more money flowing in because elections
finance
are
the next election.
expensive. Elections are expensive and people want to do the most they can do during the electioneering period. A way will be found to get this money out of what it is supposed to be used to be done for, to be used for the elections.
There are those gainsayers who would agree with you 100%. They would say that if you look at some of the major debts we've incurred, they've incurred just prior to an election.
They come just before an election.
And yes, and the reason why you cannot see what is done with the money is because it was used, but not for the purpose it was intended. It went to electioneering. Now, the product of that usually isn't tangible, is it?
No, it's not.
Not quite.
Not quite. So we've increased our debt ceiling to 9 trillion shillings. That's what Parliament did the other day. They approved that the National Executive can actually borrow up to 9 trillion shillings. And they were told, do not take this beyond 2024. But also at the same time, there are very many projects that have started that have not completed. We saw the president the other day just cancel one project and say, forget about this project. And this is what City
let it-
Muga is raising from this point of saying, from a layman's point of view, our issue is not really even borrowing. Our issue is what we do with the money that we borrow.
Yes, and the mistrust.
And the mistrust
It's a question
that
of,
people
we
have.
talk about public finance, public mistrust.
This is it. 0719 012 600. Join in this conversation, please. 25 minutes to 8.
How well do you know your country? Given a chance, where would you go? Not so many places, huh? Would you even know how to get there? Yes? No? Maybe? I don't know. Well, oh ye gallivanters and tourists alike, here is your chance to not only know, but also visit amazing destinations in Kenya with complete recommendations, guides, and tips on accommodation spots, wellness stops, and food joints all over Kenya. How, you ask? Courtesy of the biggest locally targeted tours and travel magazine, Travelog. Travelog is your monthly pull-out magazine in the Standard newspaper every first Thursday of the month. With Travelog, enjoy the beauty of life that Kenya has to offer. Visit exotic and hidden destinations, be part of amazing conservation campaigns and projects as you simply enjoy Kenya. It's our way of putting Kenya on the map. Grab your copy and be aboard the fun wagon as you improve the quality of your local travel experiences. Travelog, Jione Kenya. Tired of living your same old life? Need to spice it up and add some flavor? Well, we can help you go from living to living it up. East Africa, are you ready to be a part of the most vibrant entertainment scene with the best, freshest music, travel tips and destinations, fashion, tech and health trends, as well as your favorite celebrities' lifestyles? Introducing your favorite entertainment magazine, Pulsar, the ultimate all-in-one guide that will give you more meaning to life. Catch up with your celebrity writers and contributors to stay up to date with what's happening around you, where and how you can be a part of all that. The lifestyle guide that has been missing in your life. Pulsar. Live it up.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, getting round to the time where traffic definitely is building up around different pockets of the city. Thika Road and Mombasa Road traffic is definitely bumper to bumper at this point as you're trying to get into the CBD. All right, looking at what's happening on Gong Road, we have the construction that has resumed today, being a working day, and so that has caused some traffic as you're trying to get towards town via the city mortuary roundabout. Langata Road, trying to get into town and also trying to join the Bagavi Way exit is, yes, bumper to bumper right now as well. It is a Friday morning, and I know that things might change as we get closer to the mid-morning, but right now, anywhere you go really looks like it will be a bumper to bumper situation until it changes. Anything out of the ordinary is something that we need to know. Do give us a call, 0719 012 600.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
22 minutes to 8 o'clock. Good morning, and how are you doing? This is a Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. In the room, we have Ndu Oko, City Muga, and I'm Eric Latif. We are talking about public debt. And now that we have raised the ceiling for public debt, the conversation in the public is, well, where is this money going? What do we mean we're borrowing more? It raises the issue, as City Muga is saying, of trust or mistrust of the government.
Actually, when you talk about mistrust, then you have to bring in the word distrust.
And distrust as well.
Yes, you do, because the two don't mean the same thing. And here, people have to decide what it is they feel towards the government, because distrust is a complete lack of trust. Okay. Complete. You no faith, and it's usually based on experience. You've seen this thing, it's happened before, you are not buying into it. Mistrust is just lack of confidence. It's based on other experience, or should we say instinct?
Just instinct, gut feeling.
Yes, so this is the choice that we're dealing with. Remember...
What's yours?
Government?
Yeah.
No, my
distrust?
No.
Mistrust?
Mine is mistrust. It's not
It's not reached the level of distrust.
No, it doesn't actually have to, because with a little understanding of what happens within government, you cannot actually distrust them, because you will understand why they do the things they do. You will not condone it, but you know and you understand that people in this country have a need to grasp power. President Moi talked about it. They want it by whatever means. Then it means the way you do it is you don't use your own money. You let the common mwananchi whose interest is supposed to take care of, pay for it, and you borrow. And you find ways and means of making sure that money gets to you somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
This sort of unanimous agreement, again, we've known Parliament unanimously agree on things which benefit them. So once again, when such an issue against a background of funding issues that we have, and there's unanimous agreement from both sides of the House, again, mistrust has to come in. Because our experience with government, our experience with Parliament has been, whenever this happens, they are hiking their own salaries and benefits. Again, benefits. I'm not talking about the reasons behind it. I'm not talking about the need. I'm just saying it's for their benefit. Yet again, we're seeing this.
Bipartisan agreement.
Yes.
Approval.
We then have to say that whenever there's these unanimous agreements, our lawmakers stand to benefit enormously. And that here, this mistrust, unfortunately, why this has to be a debate, we do not want a situation where it gets to distrust. Because when it does, then the government has a problem on its hands.
Yep. Should we just stop these projects?
Yes. You talked about it the other day.
Yeah, we need to
and
take
there was
a step.
a heated debate. Look, we don't have them as it is. So we don't have them. So what is this big thing that is going
Call
to
a
change?
halt to
Yes,
this.
we already don't have them. So let's stop the pretense of that we're going to have them. Stop. If we've incurred a cost, if there's money remaining, return it. So we'll actually owe less. I'm putting
Exactly.
it as simply as a simple citizen would understand it.
When because when you have as an individual who is, suffering, economic money management, these are some of the things that they ask you to do to essentially save yourself.
Stop digging.
What is it that you are doing? Take an audit of the situation. What do you see that is happening right in front? Because most times we just keep, it's a hamster on a wheel kind of, we just keep going and going and going and not
going
realizing.
nowhere.
And we're not going anywhere. Money is being spent that we do not have. Money is being borrowed for which we don't know how we are going to apply it. And at the same time, these projects that we seem to be taking on as the country, they are not actually being worked on. They're actually not being done. So stop. Put a hold on everything. Money that you have, that you've gotten, that is not going anywhere, take it and use to pay back some of your debt. Because, like he said, we're not using it anyway. It might sound so simplistic, but this is what we're asked to do. Take your credit cards, chop them up, throw them in the bin. What do you have? And what are absolutely necessary to keep the country running? Then can we look internally and say, what are 2 or 3 things that you could do to actually generate some income for yourself? After you've gotten back on a normal trajectory, then we can look at now starting to continue these projects. But then we say, what are the most important things that you must pay off that will continue to hemorrhage you? And it really needs to have a simplistic
We must have
approach.
that look.
We have to have that look.
Because if we don't do this, we're
We're
going to be
going
forced
deeper
into
and
that
deeper.
situation.
If we don't, yes, we're going to be forced into that situation whereby
This-
somebody's going to
like
have to
Greece.
manage your national debt.
Like Greece.
Exactly.
Forget
Somebody's
everything
gonna
you're
have to
doing.
bail you out.
Stop everything that you're doing. Just basically stop it. Why don't you just stop it ourselves?
And when you talk of Greece, people forget that at that time Spain was also and Portugal.
And yes.
They were tottering. They were almost
there.
Yes.
It's necessary, but unfortunately we don't, and that's why we do things like, because we don't understand that it's necessary to take that very simple move of taking an audit, of taking a national audit of what is going on and stopping. We don't understand, or we feel uncomfortable to do that. That's why we do things like raise the debt ceiling, because we think that we are still okay. We've actually not forecasted to see that economically we're digging a hole. Actually, we're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into that hole because we don't want to deal with the uncomfortability of it.
It's actually worse than that, because when you get to a point of distrust, you get to a point where the citizen really see the government as a threat to their welfare. You see, this is the problem, because everything they represent seems to work against you.
Right.
So you feel my threat is actually not whatever else I'm being told. There's a gang called the government, because it now becomes a gang, and this gang is not working for my welfare. They're actually working for my downfall.
My detriment.
Yes, exactly. It's like you get to a point where the whole government is seen as a cartel, a bad one. Now, mistrust is the warning sign. And this is the sign that must be heeded.
And it's there.
Yes.
it's
You
clear.
do
for
not
everybody.
want a situation where what you're discussing is now when the citizenry of your country see the government as their number one enemy.
Yep.
And this country is actually heading in that direction. Sure, not very slowly, but certainly.
Yes.
The certainty is there. And somehow our politicians seem to have missed that particular warning.
Or they're ignoring it. And you know what? I will not forget in 2016, easily from the beginning of the year, and I don't know why it was 2016, but easily from the beginning of the year until the end of the year, I ran into so many people who would say there is just no money. We've tried everything that we can. These are individuals, you, I, not anyone sitting at. We've tried everything that we can do. Money is not flowing in this economy. What are we going to do?
Yeah, it's not that they're sitting back.
No,
they're
no.
actually exercising.
And there was a general
Kenyans are
sense
resilient.
there was a general sense of panic, and just we don't know what we're going to do. That sense has now elevated to something else now, where we are seeing that there's no confidence. That that the government is going to be able to get its people out of this general feeling, and it has moved on from a feeling to a reality for a lot of people that no matter what you do, we're just scraping by. Now, if the majority of the people are feeling this, that we're just scraping by, perhaps it's not a feeling, but it actually now is a reality.
But the other question that you ask is that if then the citizenry completely have what you call collective mistrust for the government, where have they taken their trust to? Because
Yes.
they will have places where they place
You
their faith and
transfer
trust.
it.
Where do you think they're going to transfer it to?
Who do you
Where?
think? Where do you think?
Well, I'm asking the question. Where do you think they're going to transfer it to? Are they going to transfer it to business? Are they going to transfer it to religious organizations?
To foreigners?
Are they going to transfer it to gambling? Are they going to transfer it? Because they need to hold on to something.
Yeah, there's trust. They have to trust something.
They have to feel that they're anchored onto something. So what is this thing they're going to? Because what mistrust means is that any time the government comes up with a project, people will not be willing to participate. Now, it may sound strange, but one of the things that we've discussed in this program is something that appeared in the papers, the rise again of so-called gangs. Now, gangs by their very nature are considered to be illicit, but they have never been a force to reckon with in a situation where the government looked after its people and lived up to the promises they made. You do not have gangs unless they're social.
They step into a gap.
They do. They do.
It's a gap somewhere, and they step into a gap.
They provide something that should have been provided, people need, but someone isn't. So they organize themselves and they provide it. We will question the means, but that's what they do.
You throw me on to what happened in Nigeria in the 80s and the 90s when, yes, again, the country was hemorrhaged. To the ground. And you mentioned religion. And now we see the country as extremely religious. It doesn't matter where you
Or
go.
what sort of religion it is, but people are religious.
There is a church on every corner because this is what then people grabbed onto. Because you ask them, where do people take their trust?
They have to take it somewhere.
They got to take it somewhere. And so then you find that even somebody who would have stolen last night goes to church the next day.
They do.
Because they're holding on
They
to
do.
something and they want to be able to say, this is where my hope lies. Because what the country or what the government should have been able to do for me, they have failed.
They will even pray for divine guidance as they go to steal.
And then you also, right, exactly, as I go to steal, because look, hey man, the government has not been able to
Lord,
do it for
bless
me.
me, give me strength. Blind
because
the people
tonight,
I'm going to rob.
Because
I'm going to
I
steal.
need this.
And then interestingly enough, we saw a mass, and this should be actually scary to many governments. We saw a mass exodus of people to other countries, whether it was Ghana or whether it was Canada, whether it was America,
Seeking
whether it was
opportunity
Ireland.
elsewhere.
We even started going east to Singapore. But we have to get out of this country, and that's literally people standing up.
Did people go to Iceland?
I don't look.
You
I
may
don't.
find
Doubt,
some-
I don't
you
know how
may
to pronounce
find
the
a
capital of
Nigerian there.
Iceland. I don't know how to pronounce the capital.
That
That one. But if you go there, I'm sure you'll find them there as well. There was a mass exodus. And even now, we're looking at 2018, 2019. The new recipient of Nigerians is Canada. Everybody was leaving because they said, you know what, we've trusted these people. We've trusted this government, whether it was APC today, whether it was PDP tomorrow, the two major parties, whether it was them to ask that you would deliver, kind of like we're talking about previously. We trust you to have delivered for us. But you take us to the ground, even with this black gold that we have, we're not able to see the benefits of such
It's like
as
things
a
get
country.
worse with the black gold.
Exactly. So we take our hope to religion, and where that fails, we pack our bags and go. We will see that, and I can predict it. In Kenya, if things continue to go the way they are going, we will see that happen.
We'll have a return of the 90s.
Oh,
Also
absolutely.
that happened in Kenya in
There
the
will
90s.
be a major,
Same thing.
there will be a replication of the brain drain that happened in this country in the 90s. It will happen again, and people will find other destinations to go. It sounds like doomsday conspiracy, but that is what is going to happen.
Mike has already told us he's doing that. This is going to happen. Let's be prescriptive. What is it that we want the government to do? I am actually, I've crystallized my thoughts on this. Let's audit all the development projects that we have. Let's pause the ones that are not making sense. Let's stop borrowing. Let's actually even look at what we have planned to do. So we are talking about raising our debt ceiling so that we do ABCD. Let's also audit that, the plans that we have.
If
And see
one
if
governor,
this does not make sense for us now, let's
if
shelve it for a while.
one governor in one county, Meru County, what did he say? 180 count them.
projects.
100
Not one completed.
Not
None.
one. And this is one county. Is Meru, how
And this
big is
a
Meru in
pro-government-
size?
This is a pro-government.
This is a
Region.
pro-government
Yes,
individual.
and he's one of the
region.
He's one of the major partners of Jubilee.
There you go. In that,
So
not
just
one
just
county,
Meru alone.
out of 47, 180 projects have not been completed. And the part that pains me,
The worst part is that the
The
money
money-
has actually
I am near tears,
money
and I
has
have to
been
laugh because
appropriated to this.
I have to laugh because if I don't laugh, I will cry,
Yeah.
and it's not a pretty sight. The money has been.
I started imagining you. So what is this about? I'm
I
sorry.
have to cry.
I just got
because-
distracted. I thought, okay, so
Am I actually crying? I could. The waterworks could suck.
Meaning it's a crying matter.
I'm telling you.
Yes.
The money has been budgeted for. It has been released. The projects have not been finished. What kind of cycle is this that we're going through? And I dare say we don't want. That's what we should do. An audit should be done. However, you would find that we don't want to do it because it's going to be a lot of work. And there will be massive revelation of the fact that, yes, a lot of money has been stolen, has been misappropriated, has been mismanaged. And that will come to the fore. And more heads essentially would roll. So I would say that's why they would not want to do something like that, because then it will be evident and transparent that many, many, many things which
and
we
that's why
didn't
they want to
even
keep
fathom
borrowing so they can
actually
take them
did-
to the same projects and come up with new ones.
in the misguided hope that you'll be able to borrow some money and then cover up those things which you said you had done. And the
Distract
people
you
did
by
not
actually
know.
opening a new. So I didn't do project A, B, C, D, but now look, we're doing E.
I mean,
We have a new project called E. In fact, we've done the groundbreaking for Project E. We have new partners who are coming in from A, B, C, D country. We have borrowed from Italy. They're coming there. This is it. It's just distracting us. Let's audit everything. Just like we had an audit of those dams. And that task force took the report headed by the PS, took the report to the president, and the president looked at it and said, yes, I agree with you. We have 2 dams. Let's stop one. Let's complete one.
okay, let's
Sense.
Let's do an audit of that situation right now.
Yep.
What happened for that report to have been done? Because there was a whole hullabaloo for months about the
Money,
corruption at the
yes.
dams. Money has been spent. Who then requested that this commission then take place and give us a report on actually what is happening?
They presented their report to the appointing authority. That tells you that the president actually said, I want
I want to know what is
I
happening.
want to know. I want an audit. I want to see exactly what's happening on this.
Very good.
Kwa ground, vitu ni different.
Very good. Now, in the counties, if we just take a look at what Kiraitu Murungi said about and what was happening in Meru, why then do we not have at the national level calls for such? Because I am sure, just look at Galana the other day and what we saw falling through
Yes.
the cracks. Why don't we have individuals who are standing up to say, this
Let's
1,
even-
2, 3 should have happened? What is going on? Where did the money go? And then you have people, and then we have a funds drive for people to go and look for food for people who live in Turkana. Why do we have that in the same country?
We should
Such
audit
stark,
all of
stark
them.
differences.
This new one
like
that we
day
talked
and
about
night.
this morning, the Mzima Springs project to take water to Mombasa.
Right.
We have had other projects that are supposed to take water to Mombasa. What's the status of those projects? Before we start even this new one of Mzima Springs, why are we starting a new one? Audit all of them. That's what we're saying. 0719 012 600. Opening up the phone lines now. 0719 012 600. We are saying this morning that we should audit all the projects that we have, all the development projects that we have. Look at what makes sense. Stop everything that doesn't make sense. Look at what we are planning to do, which is what we are planning to borrow 4 trillion shillings for over the next 4 years, and say, no. We can halt. Because we are at a situation where we are borrowing. And C.T. Muga is saying the public is actually getting to a point of mistrust with the government. We don't actually trust that when you're borrowing, what you're borrowing, you're going to do what you're supposed to do with this. 0719 012 600.
Well, at the same time, without, for fear of sounding as though we continue to point fingers or we continue to ask.
We do.
Yes, it is necessary. It is necessary for us to do it.
We do.
In this case, it's absolutely necessary.
It shouldn't stop.
Yes, it shouldn't stop.
This planet is replete with examples of countries which not very long ago had citizenry and an economy that was not just struggling, but it was almost collapsing. And they somehow managed to sort of like pull themselves up. When a country has resources such as the ones we have, we now know we have oil deposits. We know. We know we have minerals. We know. We have natural gas. We know. Not guess, we know. Is someone wanting to call in?
Yes, so we have Rajesh on the line. Good morning, Rajesh.
Let him call in.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning,
Very well,
Rajesh.
thank you.
Okay. I've been hearing a conversation for almost last 2 months.
Yes.
Now, today I've heard someone talking about people want to leave because they are tired of this country.
Yes.
So I'm one of them. I'm born in Kenya. I'm of Asian origin, but I'm born in Kenya. We've had a wonderful life in terms of our careers. I have a very nice job that I've been holding it for the last 10 years. I own a house. I have a family. But even I'm one of them who wants to leave.
And why do you want to leave, Rajesh?
We are just tired. We are just tired. I mean, the way we used to work before, it's not there. Even if you're on the road, even if you're in the house, you listen to news, you work, you have people coming to harass you every day. You can't just work. So we are worried about our children that, okay, we are already grown-ups. We will make it through because we have good jobs and all that. But what about our children? Will they go through all this?
What sort of harassment, if I may ask, what sort of harassment have you experienced, Rajesh?
Types of like taxation, city council, EMA, all these things have been there before, but it wasn't that bad. But now, even a small mistake that you do, you'll be prisoned.
Yes.
So we don't want a case of, that after making some money and this and that, you're still not happy, you're not peaceful. Yes, so that's what most of my people are going through, and you'll not believe it. Our company is almost 100 and something years old. Yeah, it's 5th generation running it.
Wow.
Right.
In Kenya. And now even the owners, they are thinking their kids should not come and run this country.
Wow.
So
they want to step off 5th generation.
So what you're saying is that these problems are real, and
They're real.
They're even being felt by the business community.
Yeah, we pay one of the biggest taxes in terms of, it's a big company. I don't want to tell
It's
you
all right.
That's
Yes,
fine.
That's fine. You don't have to mention the name. Yes.
But if you're after paying all that many billions of taxes, you're still not happy because you hold your head at the end of the day and like, what a day. See, that's the situation right now.
Thank you very much, Rajesh.
Thank you, Rajesh.
All right, welcome.
And thank you for tuning in to the Situation Room every morning.
Welcome. Thanks.
Well, 0719 012 600, that's the telephone line, and I've opened up the phone lines. We're coming up to the top of the hour, so let's discuss this as we wind up the hour, and then I'll open up the phone lines again in the next hour, 8 o'clock. So we are saying that people are actually feeling they are not happy with what they have, with the way the country is running, with the kind of, Raj is actually calling it harassment. Yeah. So you're doing business,
but
and you're
harassment.
feeling, tax here,
But
here,
and they want to borrow more so that they can tax you some more.
He's actually described it very, very well. You see, you talk about solutions, all right? Maybe after the hour, I'd like to propose something fairly simple, because other countries have had this sort of problems, and they have gone through them, and they have found solutions to their problems. And they have done so. And this country can. If you look at the resources we have,
we can actually make it.
Oh, we can more than make it.
Parliament recently raised the debt ceiling to 9 trillion shillings. We are borrowing. And then there are people who are feeling, what is the impact of what we've borrowed so far? Anyway, 0719 012 600. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Okay, looking at Mombasa Road, it is bumper to bumper. We don't have any accidents so far. There's a little bit of a shower, so that's causing people to go a little slower. Unfortunately, Kipande Road, which was an alternate route for many people to get into the city centre, is not moving at all for about an hour now. So if you're planning on using that as an alternate route, please don't, because there's already traffic and people are not able to move. All right, Jogo Road is looking packed, but it's moving. Traffic is bumper to bumper, but you're moving, so that's always a good thing. If we can be moving at least in some direction, that we count as good. All right, looking at the other roads around the city, Langata Road, not so bad. It'll get you where you're going eventually. And the same for Ngong Road. We do have some traffic on the Thika Superhighway trying to get to Pangani and into Globe Cinema Roundabout. But like we said, it's a quagmire there today because everybody wants to leave at the same time and get to the as fast as they can. So that's the situation right now. It'll change in a couple of hours, but for now, hold tight.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have Jerry Thorne, lawyer, political strategist, an insider in the corridors of power, ready to take on any side of the debate with her signature eloquence and grit. C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your
2
day.
minutes after 8 o'clock. Good morning, and how are you doing? The Situation Room is Kenya's biggest conversation. We are live streaming on Facebook. We always do in the morning. Spice FM KE on Facebook. On YouTube, Spice FM KE. We broadcast throughout the day on our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. Follow our conversation on Twitter via the hashtag Situation Room, and our Twitter handle is Spice FM KE. Please follow us. Now, we're discussing the debt and national borrowing and public finance management. And, you know, we've had a caller called Rajesh who's called and said, look, a company, we are Kenyans, but we are feeling that we just need to get out of this country.
But Lydia said the same thing yesterday.
Lydia said the same thing. You know,
Yes.
people are feeling, really, we can't continue like this.
You know, the examples you can give, you can talk of South Africa and the development. Someone will say, no. They grew on the back of the suffering Africans who were
Right.
subjugated to a system where they didn't have any benefit. But we don't have to follow bad examples. These developed nations that we speak of, there's one which stands out right now. It really, really stands out. It never colonized anybody. It's called Norway. Around 1963, what their government did was they created a sovereign trust because they had oil in the North Sea. Now, over the years, what they have done, they know this is going to end.
It's a finite resource.
Yes. The Middle East know their oil is going to come to an end. Their equivalent of a sovereign trust is they have developed many business opportunities and infrastructure that will survive the end of that so-called oil boom.
Yeah. And also developed what they have that will not end. Port.
Which will continue and which will outlast even the current rulers. The examples exist of what they have done with the resources they have. The countries in the Middle East had just that one resource, and then people. And their people aren't even that many. We have everything in this country.
Before you relate now to Kenya, because you've done a good thing, you've actually started giving us the examples elsewhere. Let's hear from David in Nakuru. Good morning, David.
I'm fine, Mr. Eric.
Welcome to the Situation Room. What do you think about what we're discussing this morning?
Okay, let me start by saying this. Brahmagupta, a middle-aged Indian guru, once remarked, as the sun eclipses the stars by its brilliance, so the man of knowledge will eclipse the same of others in assemblance of the people when he forms and solves algebraic equations. Fiti,
Yes.
I love you so much. I love you so much. They are my point.
Okay.
Okay, tell me the source, the genesis of this
Of
profound
this,
love.
yeah.
Fiti,
Yes.
we are tired. You see, in 1999, in Form 3, we were taught about economic growth and economic development. We are not feeling it because economic growth leads to economic development. Disclaimer:
Right.
I'm not an economist.
Yeah.
I'm a mathematician. I'm a mathematician.
So
You
1
see,
plus 1
economic-
essentially should equal 2.
Yeah, economic growth leads to economic development. It's both quantitative and qualitative. And Citi told us, he always remembers that economic development is the process whereby the per capita income of the country increases a long period of time, whereas the number of people living below the absolute poverty line does not increase.
Yes.
Look at what is happening in our country. I come from Mumias. Our parents have taken us to university, but there are no jobs. There are no jobs for the youth. People are selling what the shares of their land, they're buying pikis, so that they can make a living. Is that how they're telling us we're growing, our economy has grown by 7%, 6%. What's that? What bullshit is that?
David, thank you very much. David, thank you very much for your
So David,
really
David, can I ask you a
contribution.
question? If you had the opportunity to then, because we're saying what is going to happen, because I think one of the reasons why we don't have any kind of direct moves to do something about this is that people think that Kenyans won't do anything or that Kenyans will not latch on to something else as a resource. So for you, do you see yourself throwing your hands up at some point and saying, you know what, because where do you turn? Where does your hope go? Where would your hope go? Would you leave the country and try to find, as it were, greener pasture somewhere else?
Yes, because these are the template eulogies and panegyrics of Western advancement and development. But the same guys that from Europe, they have harvested knowledge from Europe, they have come with their papers, now they're leading us. Look what they're leading us to. What mission to that in our lives? Go to Masomesha Park University. You see, we're suffering. Our parents, they sold lands, animals. Look, we're just poor.
You're still where you are.
Mumias now, they're saying that at the road, look, Mumias, the fact itself. They argued very well. That's
David.
You Mama Mboga up to date. You see, Mama
Asante,
Mboga.
David. Thank you for your call this morning, David. Richard in Kilifi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing good.
Yes.
I like to contribute to today's debate.
Yes.
Anyway, we need to go slow on these foreign debts. After all, they are the newest form of neo-colonialism. And the colonialist has changed the form, mutated into this debt. In the first term of Kibaki, he did introduce his austerity measures, and he went slow on debts, and he dealt with the corruption. And I remember Kenya could fund nearly 3/4 of its budget.
Internally, right?
There was a time we actually got to a surplus. Not even budgeting. There's a year we actually collected more than we had budgeted
for.
So, if we can collect tax by ensuring that we do not have tax evaders or tax evasion, and then we deal with corruption. For instance, look at how much money we've lost on this Muarera Roll Dam and very many other projects.
Yes.
So if we deal with corruption and then we deal with the tax evasion,
would be able to manage ourselves and contain it.
We can be able to fund all the projects that we wanted to initiate in Kenya.
Richard, thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you.
Going to Nakuru again, Methusela, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning.
Now, I would want to contribute to the debate, but very briefly.
Yes.
You see, people keep on praising President Moi because he's not there today. What people don't know was that President Moi was ruling through the Machiavellian policy, which is make people poor and then rule them better. Those are exactly the steps that this government is following. So to suggest that President Moi's government was better than this government, remember it was Kibaki who saved this country from the dogs when President Moi had taken it there.
How exactly did President Kibaki do what you're saying?
Well, President Kibaki changed the terms of the West at the time when the West was harassing Kenya over aid, right? And at the same time, remember, many of these projects were not started during President Moi's time. Most of the projects had stalled. President Moi had killed industries in the name of trying to get Kikuyus out of the way, right? The cotton industry.
You're stating these as facts, or are they just your opinion?
Well, that is my opinion.
Okay.
Sorry. That is my opinion. The cotton industry died anyway. KFA collapsed anyway. Except the tea industry, many other industries had collapsed.
Yeah.
Right? And that was during President Moi's time.
What about this particular government?
Yeah, because now today we are talking about this particular, what we have currently, and especially in regards to public finance management and debt.
So having done that, President Kibaki did try to revive something. So what is happening is this current government is taking us back to where we were before President Kibaki came.
I see.
So the point is, what will happen is not necessarily that everybody will leave. Remember, in 1789 we had the French Revolution. They did not leave France because they were poor. What they did is they decided to change the government by force, and that was what happened. That has happened in many other countries in Africa. I mean, look at the Arab Spring.
Do you think that there's a solution to the problems that you are now enumerating?
I think the solution would be, first of all, it has to in our hearts. I mean, in the human heart. I mean, if whichever laws we create, we can say we have solutions. So long as I'm on the seat and I intend to steal, no matter which law you put in place, there will be a way out anyway.
Thank you very much, Methuselah. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for calling in. Methuselah was calling in from Nakuru. 0719-012-600. We are talking about public finance management, the debt ceiling that has been raised, what you're doing with that money. We'd love for you to contribute to that conversation. This is Spice FM 94.4 in Nairobi, the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Good morning, 13 minutes after 8 o'clock.
It's not every day that you meet a centenarian. Take, for example, the Standard Group. We have been here for over 100 years, and our secret to longevity has been but one: the magic of service. The magic of serving you, our customers, has given us so much life, and we could not have been here without you. We thank you, and we will continually endear to serve you to our level best. The Standard Group Customer Service Week. You mean the world to us.
Online, on digital, and on radio. This is Spice FM.
14 minutes after 8 o'clock. Good morning. This is the Situation. We are taking your calls this morning. 0719-012-600. I've got Alan from Nairobi. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning.
Good morning, Alan.
Thank you very much for. I must start by congratulating you for bringing such an important issue to public discussion.
Yes.
I think one of the things we need to look at is the relationship between rising debt and corruption. And if you want to get that link, the links come out very clearly in this Aror and Kimore Dam. That's the first point I want to make. The second point is, through most of Moi days, we had a problem with the domestic debt, what we were borrowing locally. We had what economists call a domestic debt overhang.
Right.
Now, if you want to find out why we have gone into this borrowing binge, you'll realize that today our biggest problem is on our foreign debt. If you look at our external debt register, my friend, we have borrowed like we have never borrowed before. now this, and most of this money is Chinese debt. They're just Aror type debt. Debts that are given by these things called export credit agencies, Exim banks. They have just saturated our external debt register. And these are stuff you bring to finance Galana, you bring to finance buying of equipment from China. So what these guys have realized is that in the next 10 years, they will not be able to service those loans. That's the reason, in my view, why
they're increasing the ceiling.
They increase the ceiling. It's not because they want to take new loans. It's because they have calculated. It's mathematics.
Yeah.
They have calculated and realized that in so many years, they will not be able to. That's the first reason.
Okay.
The second is that they are greedier chaps who are bringing new projects, who are knocking on our doors that they have new projects to be funded by Exim banks. But we are seeing that we will not be able, if we take those loans, we're not going to be able to reach past the limit. Those are the points I wanted to make.
Thank you very much, Alan.
And thank you very much for putting this matter in public debate.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Cheers.
Well, I've got another call on the line. Good morning. This is Spice FM. Lost him.
You know what? I think, and call it conspiracy or whatever you want to, but I think that this information being put out there for people to really understand what is happening. So when we see it splashed across the headlines, or when we hear that we are in debt, or when we see that, the Kenya Tax Authority, the Kenya Revenue Authority, for example, is going through and trying to get as much as they can into the account to service 1, 2, 3, the other thing, the people actually know what is going on. I think in very many cases, the wool has been pulled over our eyes, and we don't do the due diligence to actually find out what is happening. But in this case, it's very important for us to highlight these things that are going on so that you can really understand what ransom your government is holding you to when they make decisions of this nature. When you continue to borrow and then you go back to the people to ask them to help you then pay it back, but they cannot see the direct benefit of these decisions, then we have a problem. Then we begin to see the cries for people say, look, I am tired. I don't want this anymore. And when I will have to make the decision, if I am faced with an opportunity to leave the country, I will take that decision and go somewhere else where I will not be harassed. Can you imagine a government that is supposed to be providing for you developmentally, but is then coming to you to tax you for within an inch of your life to make sure that you can help them stay afloat, putting corrupt people back into government time and time again by virtue of your vote? It must be the other way around. It really has to be the other way around. And one of the ways in which we can do that is continually have discussions about what the real situation actually is.
I've got two callers on the line. This is Boniface in Nakuru. Good morning, Boniface.
Good morning. How are you?
Salama kabisa. I also have a Victor who's calling from Mombasa. Victor, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Let's start with Boniface. What's your view on this?
Okay, I think that if we want to handle this country better, we need to go back to common sense politics.
Yeah.
We've wasted resources. We've gone to tribalism. We've borrowed a lot unnecessarily. So first of all, in my opinion, we are doing a lot of taxation that is unnecessary. And the funds that we pick from the taxation, they go into the politicians' pocket.
Okay.
So in other words, we are not really benefiting as a country. So, if we look at the governmental systems of management, most of them are personal. People try to do things that will only benefit them. Yeah, so that is my opinion.
Asante sana.
Thank
Victor,
you very much.
Victor, what's your opinion?
Yes, before I give my 2 cents,
yes.
First, I'd like to thank you guys for giving us this platform, to talk about these issues. I think this is how we start making the change, because when we talk about it, that's when we find solutions. Okay, my opinion
is
that the leaders really need to have a common good for the people. I think that's where the problem all starts. When we have leaders or opinion makers that really don't see meaning in the human life or meaning in man, they tend to become malleable. That's when they're influenced by the guys from foreign countries, people who really want to benefit themselves, as Boniface said. So our leaders who maybe wanaongea directly to the guys who want to invest in Kenya or guys who want to give loans to Kenya, they tend to become wanasikiza sana. They don't protect Kenyans. They just want to benefit themselves. So I think that's where the biggest problem starts. When you have people wakianza to change their mindset, and when they want to do things for the common good of the people, that's when we'll see like real change. But otherwise, sioni vitu zikibadilika. If the people representing us don't have common good or common interest for us. So yeah, that's what I think needs to happen. They need to change their mindset.
Asante sana, Victor.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your contribution.
You see, what I was saying before our callers came in was that the examples we speak of where solutions were found are not really far from us. If you look at World War II, Norway, I'm giving Norway as an example here. They depended on agriculture, fishing, hunting, it was really predominantly an agricultural-based economy. Then, around 1937, then thereafter, they found natural resources. Okay, now, what they did is that they came up with reforms, socio-democratic economic reforms. And one of the things the government did, the government decided natural resources that involved everyone, they would take over. And remember, I talked about a sovereign fund.
Yes.
What that meant is now, as we currently speak, together with Luxembourg, I'm told it's pronounced Luxembourg, Luxembourg, Switzerland is just pronounced Switzerland.
Right.
They are the 3 countries that can claim that their GDP per capita is over $70,000. Actually, to be honest, the current figures is Norway is at 1-point-something million, meaning every citizen of Norway can access $1 million. Every citizen,
can get $1 million.
Yes, the sovereign trust, the money they got from the oil, the way they've invested, the way they've put it, it means that is what they have.
Now, the individuals who did this, do they have 2 heads?
No.
Do they have some supernatural power
Can we
that
offer
perhaps
them
we don't
to-
understand? Do they have some advantage in the human race? Are they larger
Actually,
than life, as it were?
Where I was going with my discussion, I was going to say, anyone who wants to be a leader in this country, you'd better come up with a policy or a reform policy or a reform agenda, not building roads and dams
And
and
taking
bringing
electricity
water.
to homes.
That we can do. We've
Forget
seen
that. Forget that. Agenda for reform. Telling us what you're going to do with all our resources, beginning with the natural resources, how you're going to enhance it, how you're going to direct it,
And
how you're
protect
going
it for
to,
future
yes,
generations.
Yes, how you're going to do that. Let me give you figures so that you understand what I'm talking about. What we earn, we as Kenyans, all right, on a yearly basis, all right.
Should we prepare ourselves?
I'm
holding my pen. Right
I'm holding my breath.
I'm looking at these
It's a bit
figures.
scary.
What we earn is something like around $13.95 billion. That's what we earn, all right? Our public debt stands at 54%. Now, our expenses exceed what we earn. So what that means is that the balance that we need is usually, we are at minus 6.7, the balance. This is billions of dollars,
Yep.
right? Now, gross government debt as it currently stands is 27.59 billion. Just debt.
Okay.
It's something that we were supposed to pay. We have something called foreign reserves, the sort of thing that we fall back on should something really go. But that is 7.3 billion. These figures are all terrifying.
Yeah.
What we have as reserves,
7.3 billion reserves.
Yes,
but
that's
in
dollars.
dollars.
Dollars is only not shillings.
Oh,
There's nothing here. There's nothing that I'm mentioning here is in shillings. And the GDP per capita in Kenya, why I mentioned those other ones which are 70,000 to a million, ours is $1.779.
What? Sorry, what?
$1,779 GDP per capita of Kenya.
That's how much you can add.
That's what every Kenyan. Actually, if you look at what we may consider, well,
that's about 100th of what the Norwegians can get.
The Norwegians are getting $1 million.
And we're getting 100th of that.
Yes. Now, but the scary bit is what we owe, what we have in reserve.
Right.
And this deficit I speak of, what this debt we're talking about, it doesn't reduce the deficit, it increases the deficit. So we owe more. So our reserves almost become nonsensical.
Right.
So then what it means is, the scary thing is, if people whom we owe money wanted their money, we use houses for collateral. And this is where households come in. When you borrow money and you want to borrow a lot of money, you have to have something, an asset.
An asset, tangible asset.
Yes, an asset. In a family, if money was borrowed and it was used wrongly within the household, heads would roll.
Yes.
All right? This particular family called the Kenyan country, this is exactly what has been happening. Money is borrowed. We know what it's supposed to be for. What it's supposed to do, it doesn't do, and yet debts have to be paid. What do you think when those people come calling to us for their money and they can't get it? What do you think they're going to do?
They'll take something.
They'll take your firstborn.
They'll take their collateral.
They will take their pound of flesh. Now, when we say that the current leaders have mortgaged this country and have mortgaged the future of this country and have mortgaged the soul, this is what I've been saying, and I'm repeating it. I'm not speaking idly. Because when you kill hope, you kill the soul. That's why you hear people saying, when you see we've given up, want to move, the soul is dead. Or it's dying and they don't want it to die completely. They want to take it somewhere where it can be revived.
And then we have put people in, but with all of that, because this soul dying did not take place yesterday. It has been a process over time. It is incremental.
Yes.
Now, when we put people in power, or we put people in positions of leadership, who do not understand the national heartbeat, or in this case, non-beat, who do not understand what is going on, we're even in a deeper problem. And it sounds like we're raining on the parade today and it's all thunderstorms and darkness. But look, this is part of taking an audit of what we are actually going through.
Do these people actually know? They just don't care. It's not that they don't know. They're
very much aware.
They know. They don't care. To put it colloquially,
have better
they don't
information
give
than we
a
do.
damn. These things I'm talking about, they understand even better than I do.
Yeah. They have better information.
They do.
In fact, deeper information than even
But
this.
their personal interest long surpassed, long superseded, and continue to supersede the interests of the people they're supposed to.
So why do we continue putting them back in office?
We are saying, as a future leader, you must come in and show us your reform strategy.
Oh no, you have to come with your reform agenda and reform policies.
Otherwise, forget it.
And it isn't water, it isn't roads, it isn't schools, it isn't healthcare. It isn't. No,
those
it
are
isn't
basics.
That. It isn't.
You
that.
should do that anyway.
That's your job.
That's your job.
That you should do
That's
anyway.
your job.
The other thing,
but your vision should be that's your job. That's what we expect you to do if we put you in power. But your vision should be to reform this country from the bottom up. That should be your vision. Your job is the technical things you do from 9 to 5 every day.
Eric, I agree with you 100%. Just put a halt.
Put a freeze.
Complete freeze. No more new.
Let's do.
Eric,
which one did we freeze?
Eric, consider we don't have these projects running.
They're not running anyway.
So what is this change that someone is telling us they're going to bring? What are they the ones who? These projects, will they solve the problems we're discussing? The answer is no. No, they won't. None of them will. None of them will.
They will not.
Yes.
The issue we've been discussing this morning is public debt, public finance. And we've heard from you. Of course, thank you very much for calling in from wherever you have called in this morning. Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, Kilifi. Thank you for all your calls. The conversation continues. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, remember. 94.4 in Nairobi at 7.9 in Mombasa, 102.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, 90.9 Nyeri, 97.6 Malindi. Spice FM, Kenya's biggest conversation. The Situation Room, 8:29 minutes after 8 o'clock.
your same old life? Need to spice it up and add some flavor? Well, we can help you go from living to living it up. East Africa, are you ready to be a part of the most vibrant entertainment scene with the best, freshest music, travel tips and destinations, fashion, tech and health trends, as well as your favorite celebrities' lifestyles? Introducing your favorite entertainment magazine, Pulsar, the ultimate all-in-one guide that will give you more meaning to life. Catch up with your celebrity writers and contributors to stay up to date with what's happening around you, where and how you can be a part of all that. The lifestyle guide that has been missing in your life. Pulsar. Live it up.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Traffic.
Seems like traffic is moving at the same rate that and that is, quite slowly on different parts of the city in Nairobi. All right, Ngong Road is not looking much better than it was about half an hour ago, but you guys, like I keep saying, you have to be patient and let's see that your engines are running anyway, so you'll get there eventually. All right, Thika Road, you're trying to get into the CBD, you're fine, you'll get there. It's bumper to bumper traffic, however, it is moving. The same situation on Wayaki Way, not as bad as we expected for Friday morning. So yes, in that sector there is hope. 0719-012-600 is the number. If you see something out of the ordinary or an alternate route that you can use, or if your alternate route is already being used, either way, let us know.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
We don't take it for granted that you choose to join Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, every morning on Spice FM. My name is Eric Latif. We have C.T. Muga and Nduoko. Let's talk about China.
Looking east, we've always looked west. There've been very many songs even about looking west for solutions, and just what we've talked about today and said, look, this is where we find ourselves and this is how grim and how bad things are looking. Today we're going to take a look at a country that actually was in a situation probably worse than what we are in today and took some of these solutions, actually took the situation, took the bull by the horns and decided to do something about it. China has become an economic bulldog, but she has earned her stripes. She's been in the trenches, she's done the hard work, and she has gained her place as a world power. Easy to say that she is now the superpower. Now, it was not China's intention to be a superpower when she started doing the work. But what they actually did was be very insular about what every action that they took, and we're going to look at some of those examples to be very clear as solutions to the problems that they had. What they wanted to do was lift their people out of poverty, and because they took very stringent measures about how they were going to get that done, it was inevitable that China became a superpower. She stands where she is unopposed by many today because of the work that they did for the last 30 years, where they didn't make a lot of noise, where they didn't ask for people's opinions. They looked within and they said, look, we're going to fix our problem with the 786 million workforce that we have. We are going to make it work because we cannot live in poverty the way we have for the last 50 years. We're going to lift our people up. We're going to make a difference, and the world is going to take notice. Now, they didn't want to rule the world. They wanted to rule their country and empower their people. What happened as a result is that they now rule the world. And where we are sitting from and where we are in the stands, we can take a lesson or two or three from this country, who now has surpassed the countries that we would otherwise give the give the audience to. China has become a superpower, and they can teach us very many lessons.
Just study on China.
No, that song sounds good.
Yeah?
The lyrics are fine. Let's just throw music to it.
Let's throw some music to it.
This is it.
30. This is
Blockbuster. Number one.
30 years ago.
China be good.
China be good. China be good because they're going to make me look bad, eh? If you don't. 30 years ago, 30 short years ago. I mean, some of us were, okay, let's not talk about the ages. But
We
some
were
of us,
alive.
Yeah, we were alive. Okay. 30 odd years ago, China was in abject poverty. Things were not working. They had 1 billion people, okay? But the situation in the country was horrible. People could not make ends meet. Their GDP was maybe 10 times worse of that Kenya sees today, and they did not have an economic leg to stand on. Enter a new president, and he looked around, and even with the communist rule it's still China recently celebrated or marked 70 years as a communist state, just about a few days ago actually. But whatever they did worked. And what they said is that we cannot continue to be like this. Number one, we're not recognized by anybody because of the poverty that is seeping out, and we're basically showing our innerwear at this case. They said we will look inwards and we are going to solve our problem,
Our own problem.
on our own, because our problems are unique to us. Although we want to enjoy a certain amount of state sovereignty, we have to make sure that our people are taken care of. Can you already see where I'm going with this? The first thing that they did was that they opened up to the world's policies. They understood very clearly that if they wanted to survive inwardly, they also had to make some kind of play on the international scale.
front.
They knew that was absolutely necessary. But they also knew that they needed to fix their house if they wanted to be on display. And they needed to put their house in order. So they began to transform the domestic landscape in order then to perform on an international scale. And it was clear. Another thing that they did was that they had a state strategy. Everybody sat down, and he was a dictator. Everybody sat down and he said, look, this is what we have to do. This is the way we are going to do it. And everybody has to be involved because this is for the good of us all. And they had what they called 5-year plans. In this country, we have 5-year plans. We have 10-year plans. They look good on paper. China had at least 12 5-year plans that they sat and looked at from the beginning to the end. And every single element that they put down on paper, they made sure that it was translated to reality. China realized that their greatest export was going to be the people that they had. 786 million workforce is not a joke. There were people in the country who were able to work. They had the space, they had the people to do it, and they decided, we're going to use these people. And guess what they did? They became the world's factory. In 30 years, they became the go-to place where the world's companies, you want anything done?
Go to China.
Do it here. And it is that way till today. We talk about fake China products, but guess what? There's the real. You want the fake, the fake real, the real
They give
fake,
you.
or the real. You'll get it in China. They can do it for you. Some of the biggest corporations in the world, from Nike to Microsoft to Apple, use the workforce of China. Just try to imagine the kind of dollars that they will be able to command after some time. And finally, what they did is that they realized that they had Chinese people abroad who would remit money back to the country, and they made use of that. And then they went on a scale, on a campaign where they now called the people who had expertise around the country to come back and build the country. But by then they had something good to offer these people who they were telling to come back, and they had no choice but to build their economy. 5 clear chances, clear campaign strategies that they used, and it worked. What am I saying? And that's why I asked Titi the question that I asked earlier. Did these people have 2 heads?
Were they
Did
more
they
special?
have an advantage because they lived on the other side of the hemisphere? Were they more special than us?
They had a reform policy.
They had a reform policy.
Started
They
from
were
there.
insular about what it is that they wanted to do, and they looked within and they said, you know what, nobody is going to solve this problem. No amount of foreign loans is going to help us. We have to look inside.
We have to know what
are
we
we
want.
able to do with what we have? And they made it work. Did we talk about natural resources here?
Yes, we did.
And here in China, they have natural resources, but did they use them? They didn't.
Actually,
they used them internally.
What they had at some point, they represented the bulk of the world's poorest.
Yes.
Now they represent the world's
richest,
largest middle class. Largest.
The largest middle
The
class.
power of any economy is actually in the middle class. And when you have a large enough middle class, to understand it, let me give you the analogy of wine, because wine, I don't drink wine myself.
It's good.
But I am told it has wonderful properties.
Those who don't even call it drinking. They say take.
It's good for your heart.
Yes, I'm told it's good for the heart. I'm told it's good for the mind. In short, I'm told it's good for the body.
Yes.
Okay? Now, some of the more discerning connoisseurs of this particular beverage tell me that, at least from what I've read, the information from what I have read is that the largest consumers of the so-called I'm using lay terms here. Of course, I'm sure there are better terms to use, but I'm using what I have. Some of the more discerning wines, some of the more expensive wines, it isn't the Western world.
No.
China. That's where the middle class is. That's where people have disposable income. This is how you recognize the middle class. So they are the ones who keep some of those massive vineyards, whether it's in California or in France or Bordeaux, those places. They're the ones who tend to keep them in business. They consume those wines.
Right.
Now, so instead of just being the world's biggest factory, they have the world's go-to market. Because there are people who can consume your product.
Yes.
And they have no shortage of supply of people who can consume your product.
And as opposed to having that, there was also, and that's why I keep talking about a mind change or a mind shift. It was deliberate in what they did, and they realized, what do we have? Really, literally, what do you have in your hand?
Manpower.
And they saw it. It was manpower to be able to expend and to be able to consume. And they saw the benefits of that. And they said, this is what we're going to use.
But you know what it all comes down to is something we keep referring to here, and City keeps raising it. It's about leadership. Yes. Because this reform that we're talking about, so there was the Chinese reform, the market reform and all. It was actually being spearheaded by one strong leader called Deng Xiaoping. And this man had tried many times, even before he rose into power in 78. He had tried it. He had tried going into the Communist Party and saying, guys, let's do this. They had tried to force him out. They had tried to suppress him. He rose to the position of leadership.
Yes.
And he took it and he said, this is what I've been saying, guys.
Now let's
do it. Yeah. And he showed it. He led by example. He started from the beginning. He came up with the 5-year plans. He said, let's develop it. Let's look at them as medium term. And because of his leadership, they're where they are now. If you have another different kind of leader, you'd have a different kind of outcome.
Yes, you would.
But because of the leadership that he set in place, and also the Chinese culture and values, where you come into a position of leadership and you are expected basically to do the right thing, do good by the people. So the society itself expects this of you, but also because you're a good person and you're a good leader. As heritage, right?
And it was very important in how they were going to propel their development. And we talked about this yesterday.
Yep.
The heritage was very important because the people expect a certain thing of you because of the way they have always done things traditionally and culturally. So a leader comes in place, we expect you to do a certain thing, and that propels then your development. And interestingly enough, as much as they were insular and very deliberate about how they did things, it didn't mean that they didn't duplicate. And they had phases of the development.
Yes.
And this is another thing that I say. They duplicated what they saw in countries around the world.
They were seeing what is working there. They copied,
they said,
come and
this
do
is what is working. Let's copy it. And then they went into
and
the local internalization phase.
Please
and it was very clear that it worked.
They had allies whom, people assumed they were not allies, but they were. They had Taiwan. They had Macau. They had Hong Kong. Yes, we assume they were under colonial rule, but these were Chinese.
Exactly.
They were Chinese. They still are Chinese. And the Communist Party did have a say in what happened in these places. You may have had the supposed government by some other power, but they did have a say. And if you want to understand the smartness that you're speaking about, is they understood the importance of these so-called colonies and they let them thrive because they knew if they thrive, mainland thrives.
Exactly.
Yes.
They understood this. This was their window to the West. They understood it perfectly. And I like the word you used. And they were deliberate. But, Antu Sa, I want to slow this song a little bit. The process, unfortunately, also was accompanied by a lot of atrocities.
Yes.
Unfortunately, because there was the program of re-education. Remember, they had been led by dynasties, monarchies that were hereditary.
Yes.
And these leaders were not nice people. They didn't treat their people well. That's why they ended up in the problem they did.
Yep.
Now, the process meant that people who were assumed to align themselves to the dynasty really really suffered. They let me not go into the details of the suffering, but they suffered. There are people who even argue that the Great Famine was actually man-made. And remember, it's argued 25 to 30 million people died. Those are not few people.
Those are many. That's an entire Kenya.
Yeah, that's an entire East Africa at that particular point in time. Everybody died. All I'm trying to say is there was a cost to all this.
And I think there is a cost. There is a cost to development. Maybe it does not have to be as gory as people
we
dying.
don't have to go that route because we can see and learn.
We can learn from it.
So our people do not have any excuse, especially our leaders in parliament, because we have this parliament is the most educated parliament we've ever had since independence. They're educated. These are people who are knowledgeable. They understand. They have no excuse.
They have no excuse. And you know what? The same China then comes to Kenya. Can you imagine, in 30 years, you're able to turn around an economy, not just lift its people out of poverty, but get to the point whereby you're able to then stand on your feet and then have some to lend to other countries and then be the voice whereby you influence others in terms of what you're going to give them and how you want them to operate, until now you get to the point where you've actually actualized as a country, whereby now you influence other countries. So it's very necessary, or it's actually possible, that we as Kenya, China comes knocking, we just say, yes, money and all we're done is we're dazzled by the dollar sign, as opposed to saying 30 years ago, and we're not talking about 30 years ago, literally was 1990. That was 1990. We're not talking about a very long time ago. These people were not in the position that they are today, as opposed to asking ourselves, because this is what they did. China went and asked, what did you do? Can we do it? Kenya would not ask China, what did you do? How can we do it? That's the replication that I'm talking about.
Remember, when you speak about that history, even during the days when it was assumed China wasn't open, you need to understand how the Chinese look at life. This world domination, because that's what it is, it's not something that happened by chance. They understood it. Remember, the Chinese have one of the oldest civilizations on this planet.
True.
Oldest. They understand this. They know their heritage. They understand it very, very well. Even at the time when they were supposed to have been shut from the rest of the world, they were not.
They were not.
Oh, no, they were not. That's why I said the word used deliberate. This reform, they were clear about what they were going to do. They were not going to shout about their development. They're not going to let you know.
They didn't even talk about what was going on. You wouldn't even know that the monster or the dragon was being born.
When they sort of like came out, what you saw was not what was actually going on. You saw what they allowed you to see. Even when you talk about the power, I hear the world saying, well, second largest. No.
It is the largest.
They overtook America.
They overtook the US a while ago.
They overtook them. The US is loud. The US has been in our face. The US has been a business partner. Good term. Didn't want to say colonizer. Right. A business partner to very many nations in the world. They've been there. But you're talking about might, power, strength, economy. China overtook them a long time ago.
China is number one.
It is. Oh, absolutely. Whether you want to look at it by by percentage of export, whether you want to look at it by influence around the world in terms of who it used to be.
And
that
there's also admission by the U.S. president. He says, "Make America great again." It means that we're no longer great.
Even if you look at the trade balance or imbalance between the two countries, you'll know who it favors, really.
So why then? Because what we see now coming home here in Kenya and then asking ourselves, we used to take quite a number of handouts from the US, the former power, and the Bretton Woods institutions, IMF, World Bank, etc., etc. Now here we are, dancing, courting, having this fantastic financial romance with China. Do we not learn?
We do learn.
Can we not learn?
We do learn.
What do we learn?
That's the thing you need to ask. What do we learn?
What do we need to learn?
What we learn is that there are people who are willing to give us money.
Yeah. What do we need to learn?
And that we don't have to be responsible for it, and we can just push the responsibility to the next generation, and then the next, and then the next. That is a lesson we seem to have learned. But please consider, the West made their money expensive, and they treated us like children who had adult minds. Don't eat with that spoon, eat with that fork. If you don't eat with that fork, I won't give you more honey.
Chew with your mouth closed.
Chew with your mouth closed, and please don't breathe when you're chewing. Okay? The Chinese came and said, look,
how much do you want? How much
do you want to plaster the food in your face? Go ahead.
I'm giving you the food. What do you want to do with it, Shauriak?
Yes, you want to eat, you want to push some through your ears? Go ahead. We'll give it to you. But we want it.
This is what we want.
They didn't interfere. They didn't give us conditions about how we go about our business.
Unfortunately, though, that is bad for our leaders.
No, unfortunately, though, that is actually good for our leaders because we get to see them for what they are.
For what they really
when
are.
You have Big Brother prefecting them, we don't. They pretend
they hide or cower to be someone else.
And yet, so they point that Big Brother as the enemy.
Yes, exactly. And yet they still do the things that we don't want them to do, but they have an excuse. With China, there's no excuse. It is you.
We can see it clearly.
It is you.
This is you who has gotten into this deal. You're the one who's actually taken food, and instead of eating the food,
there's no one to blame here. There's no one. You.
I'd like to keep opening the phone line. 0719-012-600, 0719-012-600. Nduoko has actually just taken us through the history of China and how China has risen over the last, how many, 3 decades?
30 years, yeah.
Over the last 3 decades, and where we are at now, where we are actually also going to China for with our begging bowls. But what are the lessons that we need to learn? What are the lessons that we are learning from what China has done? What lessons should we be taking from moving from the former suitors, the West, and to the new suitors, China? What is it that we should be doing?
It's possible to be very deliberate about your development as a country. We cannot continue talking about, in 2019, after having been independent for 50 plus years, we cannot continue talking about a new government will come in and develop roads, a new government will come in and develop dams, we'll improve the healthcare. No. We need to have evolved to another level of development by this time.
That is why we must legislate and make lies a crime.
Because if you are going to do something, or if you say that you're not going to do, we need to hold you responsible.
Lies. You lie about what you're going to do. You lie about what you're going to do with the money you borrow. You lie about everything that has to do with the so-called citizen. And you think you can fob it off by talking about we are involved in development projects. That statement is supposed to cover everything, and we're supposed to fall in line.
We have Victor Oiro calling in from Kericho. Good morning, Victor Oiro.
Yes, morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, and good morning.
Good morning, Victor.
Yes, I'm impressed with the conversation so far.
Yes.
Yes, as a professional conservationist, I mean natural resource forest by profession.
Yes.
I might not contribute much on issue economics and whatever. But it's quite astonishing to see how the country is being run. The debts maybe we accumulate from the foreign countries. As much as we've talked of China being, we've been so much indebted to China, and also the money plundering, how the money is being misused by the authorities.
Yes.
Yes, us as the youth, we are really surprised. Given the rate at which most of the youths are unemployed.
Yeah.
And we feel really sorry for more so for the learned youth who maybe have not got the chance to get the jobs. And we see how the economy is going down to its knees. Due to the guys who are given the priority to manage the funds, how they are misusing the funds.
Yeah.
For instance, the Kimarer and Aror Dams scandal. It really hurts. It really hurts. Anyway, I'm grateful for the conversation, and I'm tuned.
Do you think that people need to speak up more about the injustices that we see? Because if we're going to be honest, that's what they are, injustices. Do you think that people need to speak up and make their voices heard on a louder, larger scale, and maybe somebody will sit up and take notice?
Yes, I think people should rise and speak up, speak out their minds louder than before. Yeah, especially the youth. You know, the youth, we are the majority, learned and unemployed, and at times we seem to be destitute. So I think we should rise and make it louder. Yes, given that the unemployment is the elephant in the house so far.
Yeah. So
yes.
The you should be louder. Thank you very much, Mr. Oiro, calling in from Kericho. Have a good day in Kericho.
Same.
Going to Mombasa, I have Ben on the line. Good morning, Ben.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, just a quick contribution on the discussion. Very good conversation this morning. Okay, so one, I think when we discuss, and I follow your conversation a lot about economics very many morning, I think we kind of discuss, the issue is malaria, but we always discuss the headache. You know, when you have malaria, you get headache.
And fever.
And fever. So we are discussing fever and headache. We are not treating the malaria. The issue is very simple. For us to move forward, we can have the best leaders. We can even have zero corruption. If, like now, example, Botswana is the least corrupt country in Africa.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's still poor when you compare with other European countries and other powers. The reason is this: unless we start manufacturing for ourselves unless we do manufacturing, everything else we are doing, we are just treating the headache. The malaria is still there. The solution is very simple. What China did and what South Korea did, what all those other countries did, is very simple. They protected their markets. For example, we import 140,000 vehicles. How hard is it for the Kenya government or whoever is in charge to say from the year 2020, we are not buying used cars. We are not buying cars. If they are not made here, we will not have cars.
Well, the government has tried that and the people have protested.
And that's why I support...
Because of this mistrust.
I support,
because of the mistrust the city talked about.
I know Njeri is not in, but I support when Njeri says we need a dictatorial force, because some of these things are not going to happen by trying. You have to do it, not trying.
Deliberate.
We also, yes, we buy 8 million phones every year. 8 million. If just 50% were made here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to talk to those people, maybe Samsung or whoever, and tell them, we'll give you land, we'll not tax for 5 years, tax holiday, and so long as 90% are Kenyans, the 10% can be your people.
Right.
We employ here.
Right.
Like that. If we are not deliberate about manufacturing, we will discuss this next year, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. You can even be the least corrupt country. But if like now, I'm driving an American car to work. If I have to buy a car that's not made in Kenya, unfortunately, we will not move forward.
It's interesting that you say that, because at the same time, that is actually one of the things that China did. Since we're using her as an example today, she had strategic partnerships that she called on from different countries around the world. Strategic partnerships, however, kept them in country.
Yep. Come and operate from here.
Come operate from here. Basically, show us how to do it. A certain time would lapse, and they say, "Thank you very much. We've learned from you. It's time to go. Thank you."
And to your point, when you look at the motor industry in China last year, Batuan passed America as the world's biggest car market.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're saying
VW. Yes, they have VW, they have GM, all those people. But all those companies, they are majority owned by Chinese.
Yep.
So when GM is operating in China, it's called GM SAIC. SAIC is a Chinese partner.
Right.
So they own 50%. They still make the Chevrolet or whatever the car is called in America, but it is 50% owned and the factory is there.
Yeah.
If we are not that deliberate, again, another thing, apart from governments, because we like talking about governments, the other issue is business people. We need business people who are visionary. I don't think China would be where it is, or those countries would be where it is, if they don't have homegrown multinationals. Huawei, if China did not have Huawei,
yes,
or Oppo, or whatever other companies that they have that make goods and products, if they don't have those companies, they will not be where they are. Unless we start thinking like that.
So the private sector as well needs to rise up.
We'll be sorting out the headache.
Well, that's true. And even if you want to look at something as major as Google, for example, just one example of Google. Google was locked out from China because they had their own inborn search engine. Okay, they had their own. So things like that, and they're very proud of it. You can imagine the search engine. You can imagine how Google wanted to get in there, but then you have 1 billion strong who are using a China-bred born search engine and not using Google. So you can imagine the conversation continues till today about how they want to be let in the door and they're not, because they understood how they would protect their markets. And they were, again, deliberate about everything from technology to manufacturing to agriculture to natural resource to human resource, deliberate. And they didn't leave any stone unturned.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling in from Mombasa. Okay, so you're the guy in Mombasa who drives the Escalade.
It's you.
It's you with the big American. This is the Situation Room right here on Spice FM. Kenya's biggest conversation coming up to 9 o'clock. 0719-012-600. We're discussing the Chinese model, the Chinese example, how China rose and how China has actually managed to become a world superpower. And what lessons can we draw from that as Kenyans? Good morning. It's coming up to 9.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Things are looking a little bit better. Although traffic is bumper, when we say bumper to bumper, literally, nothing is moving. But you know what? It's getting better as the minutes tick by. It is a Friday morning, coming off a holiday yesterday, so you didn't expect it. But that is what we see around major roads in the city. Traffic is slow, but it's moving, and we're getting to the time where it's going to fade off and we won't have much of an issue, unless of course until the evening when everybody's trying to get home for the weekend. For now, we can accept what we see because it's not so bad. 0719-012-600. Unless you see something that changes significantly, do give us a call. We'll spread the information.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have Jerry Thorne, lawyer, political strategist, an insider in the corridors of power, ready to take on any side of the debate with her signature eloquence and grit. C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2 minutes after 9 o'clock, this is the Situation Room on Kenya's biggest conversation, all on Spice FM, 94.4 in Nairobi, 87.9 in Mombasa. In Nakuru, we are on 96.0, and that's where Ken is getting us from. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning to you.
Welcome to the Situation Room, and thank you very much for tuning in today.
Thank you, too. A very interesting conversation that you're having right there. Yes, so I have 2 or 3 points that I want to front.
Yep.
And as Jerry said, we must be very deliberate in whatever it is that we do as a country.
This is Ndu.
So, because at the end of the day,
Yes.
we have to know whatever it is that we want and where we want to be in years to come. Look at Rwanda. Look at what Rwanda is doing in its development issues. The president is very deliberate. He wants something done, and he follows up to it. The problem with us is that we have too many things at any one time. We don't follow up, and that is the problem we have in Kenya. It's not about the issue about policies or anything. It's about implementation of our project.
Right.
Because like, let's give an example of there was a project whereby an NBA star came to Kenya and he went to Rwanda. Sorry. He proposed that we do a certain stadium or something. Rwanda followed it up. Ours was just for the optics, and when he boarded the flight back to the US, that was it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because that stadium actually was just opened in September in Rwanda, and actually
came up in 6 months.
Yeah.
Was it 6
was
or 8
done.
months?
But for us, we haven't done anything on the ground because more or less we are concerned about the optics, who we see, how we do our things, and that is the problem.
Okay.
We have leaders who don't follow up. Look at those dams, like Kimwarer, Arol. Look at this maize plantation, the
Galana Kulalu.
Galana Kulalu. The implementation is the problem because if an ambassador, a whole ambassador can say that cartel sabotage the project as a government, what exactly are we doing?
So
I agree with you, actually.
Ken, you were saying you had 3 points, so that's point number 1.
So the second point is we have to, focus on those areas where we are better. Because if we are an agricultural-based economy and all we want is develop roads, bridges, we don't we really have misplaced priorities. Because if we want really food security, you should invest more on food security. Direct your resources there. Whatever it is that you want it to be done, let it be done within the specific period that it is allocated. Because even the Nakuru, where we have the interchange in Limuru, the World Bank pulled off because they were falling back on their promises, and that is a problem. We have too many projects. It's like we are in a construction site.
We have
this road, that road, whatever it is. We don't focus on one thing and one thing at a time.
Right. Number 3.
And we also have to pull up ourselves when it comes to accountability.
Right.
Because we have too much money coming in, which cannot be absorbed. Counties are taking money back for development, and that is the saddest bit. Like Nakuru County, we are told that the governor allegedly took back 3.9 billion in a county whereby we have poor roads, we have we have to decentralize all these activities around the offices that we hold, because we cannot do much. If we want to control, let's say, 6 billion and absorb it in a few months, you cannot do that, definitely. So it either we reduce whatever it is that is allocated to the counties and put it on projects that are nationally driven, or let's come up with something that we can be able to do within a specific period of time.
Yeah.
Very good points there, Ken.
I definitely agree with you, but I have to correct you on something, though, Ken.
Okay.
My name is Ndu, not Jerry.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Asante sana, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
for
much.
calling in. How is Nakuru this morning? Are you on the road anywhere? Give us a traffic update.
Actually, I just want to leave, and everything is okay. It's bright. It's a bright day.
Yep.
But it's raining out here now. But now the problem is we don't have leaders who can,
who can help.
direct all that water. All that water into a central
Who can stop the rain?
Okay.
Not really,
harvesting.
Do a dam.
Yes.
Harvesting.
An actual
That
dam.
is the problem. So, but in January we are going to cry that we don't have
It's
food
too
and all
dry.
that.
Yes.
That is the problem. That is where the problem is.
Asante sana, Ken.
Thank you very much.
I would like to, this is akin to, you go to school. We talked about the education system. You go to school, you learn for a period of time, but then there are lessons that you take. You have homework, and that it's a time for you to continue in that lesson. And then at the end of the term, you are given an exam to test the knowledge that you have actually gotten over the term. And even in our learning, clearly as a country, we need to be deliberate, because those are deliberate activities to make sure that you've actually captured the essence of what it is that you are taught over time. But we also have to be in a state of willingness to learn. And we cannot continue having our hands open. We cannot continue saying, give us, help us fill the gaps. We have to be creators. We have to be inventors. We have to be innovators. We have to create from within. We have to develop. We can't continue having the handout mode that we've lived in for the last 60 years. We cannot do that.
What would you say are the reform policies of this country?
Well, I think if we're going to talk about reform, first of all, first thing is that we literally have to strip it down.
Do we have a reform policy?
We don't have a. Oh, I thought you were asking me if I was going to give
if you came up with a reform
if
policy.
I were to come up with a reform policy, there are certain things I would come. But if you're saying what it is in this country, we don't have one.
If we were to carry on,
First of all, we need to strip down to the bare minimum and say, first of all, where our expenditure, where we are bleeding this country dry, all of those taps must be closed. We've got to freeze it first. Because in order to reform, because if you look like the religious reformation that took place, they pointed out certain problems that were clear, because you don't have reform if you cannot identify what the problems were. So there must be public, deliberate identification of the problems that we see. From there, then you strip down to the bare minimum and start to close the taps. Where we've opened the taps and sometimes there's even nothing coming out. Close them, even as sources then. It is also very important when you're talking about reform. The leadership is extremely important. And I think it is necessary for civic education to be done for the people so that they can really clearly understand the consequences of voting in bad, mediocre leadership. It cannot be along tribal lines. It cannot be along our guy in the seat.
But you are aware that nobody presents themselves as mediocre when they want to.
Of course not. Nobody's going to go and do the dance and say, "Well, I'm kind of here. I'm kind of here and there."
How do we figure out?
They do their CVs. Eh?
What have they done?
They do?
What have they done? Look at the president of China today. Since 1978. Has been clamoring, shouting, saying this is the way in which we need to do things. He couldn't penetrate the Communist Party. He was not able to until he got there and said, this is what I have been talking about all this time. And here he has done it. You get into power and you say you're going to do certain things, just like you said, criminalize lying, one thing. We have social performance contracts where we say, if you're not doing this, come and go and sit down.
Come and go and sit down.
Come and go and sit down, literally. Mm-hmm. We don't hold them to book. We put the same goons back every time because we don't know, or because we are not willing to accept the fact that the wool has been pulled over our eyes time and time and time again.
CT,
we ourselves are not deliberate about who we vote in.
What did you say is our reform agenda? Is our reform policy?
We don't have one. Okay, sorry, CT.
No, we don't actually have one. I'm not going to make it life easy for the politicians and tell them
by giving them ideas.
No.
They pay you if they want your mind.
No. If you want to lead this country, you must have a reform agenda. Absolutely. You must have a reform policy. You must come out and say, this is what I want to do, and this is how we are going to start. Look, usually you start with ensuring you have manpower. The human resource is that you start there.
Yeah.
So that if you're thinking of building the economy, because people have to do the building.
It actually is your greatest resource.
So you ensure that these people can fit that bill, this particular bill that you have the reform bill. Start from there. Then the rest should fall in line. But I'm not saying any more than that. Let people rake their brains and figure out what they think their reform agenda should be, because these problems are in a country where we have close to 50 million people and they see these things exactly as I do, so that they don't see the problem. They do.
It's 11 minutes past 9 o'clock. This is Spice FM. The Situation Room is Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you very much for tuning in. Well, we'll be looking at what Rudisha will be doing tomorrow shortly.
.0 Spice FM, Nakuru.
How well do you know your country? Given a chance, where would you go? Not so many places, huh? Would you even know how to get there? Yes? No? Maybe? I don't know. Well, oh ye gallivanters and tourists alike, here is your chance to not only know, but also visit amazing destinations in Kenya with complete recommendations, guides, and tips on accommodation spots, wellness stops, and food joints all over Kenya. How, you ask? Courtesy of the biggest locally targeted tours and travel magazine, Travelog. Travelog is your monthly pull-out magazine in the Standard newspaper every first Thursday of the month. With Travelog, enjoy the beauty of life that Kenya has to offer. Visit exotic and hidden destinations, be part of amazing conservation campaigns and projects as you simply enjoy Kenya. It's our way of putting Kenya on the map. Grab your copy and be aboard the fun wagon as you improve the quality of your local travel experiences. Travelog, Jione Kenya.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
The man is Eliud Kipchoge, not David Rudisha. So Eliud Kipchoge has less than 24 hours. It's about 23 minutes and what?
23 hours, 46
23
minutes
hours
and 51 seconds.
Yes. So tomorrow, Eliud Kipchoge will not be racing against anybody this time. He'll actually be racing against time.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to be the first man to run a marathon, 42 kilometers in under 2 hours. This is not a small thing. I mean, the entire world is behind him. There's nobody who has said, no, let's make sure that this thing doesn't happen. Everybody in the world is basically saying, if there was a man who could run in under 2 hours an entire marathon, that man is David Rudisha. No, why do I keep saying David? It's Eliud Kipchoge.
Well,
tell us what it is about David Rudisha.
I don't know what's called. I don't know.
No. Eric, remember we're discussing this in the morning. David Rudisha broke the world record, 800 meters, and then broke it again.
So you're the one who poisoned my mind.
I am the one who actually mentioned to you that
Rudisha is the man who broke his own record.
He broke his own record, and that record hasn't been broken since.
Yes.
Now we have another Kenyan who has a record, and he wants to break his own record.
Yes.
If we look at what Eliud Kipchoge has actually achieved in the last year, in 2018, so the man went to London, he conquered London, the London Marathon. A couple of months later, he went to Berlin. He did not just conquer the Berlin Marathon, he actually broke the world record. He became the fastest man to run a marathon, right? 2 hours, 1 minute, 39 seconds. And previously, actually, a year and a half or two before that, he had participated in a Nike project, which was also trying to do what he's trying to do tomorrow, run a marathon in under 2 hours. He fell short of that just slightly, and he said, I'll be back. I will come and do this. Eliud Kipchoge. Eliud Kipchoge.
Okay, let's just call him David.
Let's just call him David.
No, Eliud
Kipchoge. Eliud Kipchoge. He said, I'll be back. And because of saying I'll be back, he's actually going to be back tomorrow. Now, here's what we do with our people in the country. So, do you know Eliud Kipchoge has been awarded, yes, in the national honors, yes, but not the highest. And this morning I want to say, let's forget everything. Eliud Kipchoge should be made the Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart by Kenya and Kenyans. This honor is by Kenyans. Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart is CGH. And you only see that when you see the name of the president. President Uhuru Kenyatta, CGH. And I am saying we should have Eliud Kipchoge, CGH.
Do we want to wait for him to break the record first?
We shouldn't even have to. I'm saying this is happening in Jamhuri.
By virtue of the fact that right now he is the fastest man over, the course of the marathon. That
on the
is
planet.
On the planet. Yeah,
the president is only president of Kenya, not the planet.
He's not president of the planet.
So what I'm saying is this. I'm not saying that the president's work and achievements should be considered insignificant. I'm simply saying that what this gentleman has done is equally, if not more significant in this sense alone. Because of his feat, suddenly the focus is on Kenya.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's a really positive focus.
Yeah, we talk about raising the nation's profile time and time again. And this is one, because we keep asking ourselves, so what do we need to do? Do we need to manufacture a car? What would be called the Kenyota? Whatever. But here we are saying is an individual who is able, by virtue of his physical ability, to raise the nation's profile on a global scale. And for that, without him having
We're talking about national identity yesterday.
We're talking about national identity.
Yeah.
And this is one way that Kenyans have been able to come together.
We've
and upon that premise, people get... Do you know that there are some nations, there's some people around the world who do not even know the existence of Kenya, but by virtue of the fact that this man will do what he will do tomorrow, they get to know that there's a country called Kenya?
Yes. Yep.
The impact that such a thing has, and this is somebody who started running on his own, did not ask the permission of government officials to go ahead and do this.
He wasn't
did it
pushed
on his
by
own,
government.
was not pushed, was deliberate in his development, over and over and over again, and now stands in a unique opportunity, unique place to raise the profile of this country and get people to stand up, sit up, and take notice. One individual, one man with his two legs, literally.
Let me put the context here in what I'm talking about, the national honors. So a couple of, was it last year but one, we had this whole furore when Negederiman was awarded the HSC, Head of State Commendation. And there were people who were asking, so who are these people who've been given the Head of State Commendation? Why do they deserve it? So national honors actually do exist, and they are stipulated in the Constitution, and we have a law that says this is how you shall give national honors. There are committees that sit and look and review this person who has served Kenya so well, this person who stands for Kenya, this person who has done things that need to be recognized by Kenyans, is awarded, and is awarded by the head of state after the recommendation of the committees. So the orders in their order is the highest one is the Order of the Golden Heart, and this is where we have the CGH, and that's the president. Usually it's reserved for the head of state. So CGH, Chief of the Golden Heart, and then you have the Elder of the Golden Heart. You have now speakers of the National Assembly, the Senate. You have leader of majority, leader of minority. You've got all these people who actually get that. Governors get EGH, politicians, right?
And government officials.
There are many other Kenyans, but the CGH and EGH mostly have gone to politicians. Mostly, right? And then the other one is
the state commendations. That's what they are.
Yeah. Okay. Moran of the Golden Heart is there. So those three are the Golden Heart. Below that we have the Burning Spear. You've had people who are called the CBS, Chief of the Burning Spear, Elder of the Burning Spear, Moran of the Burning Spear. Now, our man, Eliud Kipchoge,
what does he
including
have?
our man, David Rudisha, are MBS. All right?
Members of the who?
Burning
Moran.
Spear. Moran of the
Not
Burning
even
Spear.
Chief. Not even Chief.
So
Moran
that
of
tells
Spear.
us how our rulers
Like
view these
local number
achievements.
6.
How they view achievements and how they actually view the participation of the citizenry in propelling this
Because
country
I've been called
forward.
a Mheshimiwa, I can be EGH.
Meaning, these things, they feel they're the ones who've contributed the most to the country. Actually, they have. But what they've contributed shouldn't be rewarded. Not in the way it is rewarded. A little jail term would do well.
Right.
But yes, they're saying they're more important than people like Eliud Kipchoge. That's what they're telling us, isn't it?
Yes.
They're telling us they're more important than our scientists who have brought our name to the fore. They're telling us they're more important than our innovators. They're telling us they're more important than people like Ngugi wa Thiong'o,
Wangari Maathai.
They're telling us they're more important than people who the world has recognized. This is what they're telling us.
They've held Kenya high up there.
Yes.
In the international community. They have represented Kenya so well.
Yes.
They have been champions of whatever they've stood for.
Yes.
And represented Kenya. They have also been people who Kenyans look up to.
Can I ask a question? There's this young lady, a Kenyan young lady, who won an Oscar award.
Yes, Lupita Nyong'o.
What was she given?
By Kenyans?
Yes.
I don't know. I think she got a HSC, maybe. Head of State Commendation.
Okay.
After what she has done.
Okay.
Right? And which is why I'm saying today, we have been reserving the CGH to Head of State because he represents the state, he represents the country. We should give Eliud Kipchoge CGH this year. Last year there was a lot of outcry because Kipchoge was not given anything. After breaking the world record, after winning Berlin and London, after also being named as the world's best male athlete of the year in the Laureus Awards.
Laureus Sports Awards, yeah.
Kenya, we did not recognize him. We should even have said, all right, so initially you had an MBS, let's give you an EGH. Nothing. Now, let's be completely deliberate is the word you're using today, right? Let's be completely deliberate. Why can't we give this man the CGH?
Who makes these recommendations? I would like to
I'm
know.
sure there's a committee.
Yeah, there's a committee that sits,
So
of course, in true fine fashion. There's a committee that sits and makes the decision.
Actually, 3. There's one committee for the National and County Governments Awards. This is the one that looks at, the ordinary, you and I, and national leaders. There's one for parliamentary service. And the other one for public service. So parliamentary, it just looks at MPs and people who work in parliament.
So essentially, it's like they created these things for themselves, and every once in a while, the other citizenry of Kenya are sort of like considered just so that they can be the discussion of inclusivity. Is that it?
Yes. If you look at what Eliud will actually be doing tomorrow, it's not a small thing. He
You know, my friend, I want to draw a parallel with someone who did something similar many, many years ago. He was just called Sebastian Coe.
Yes.
At that time. 1,500 meters, 800 meters. That man...
He was an ordinary man.
He was just a young man
British.
who was good at what he did and excelled. He's now Lord.
Yep.
Whatever accolades his country can offer, he's been offered the highest because of his achievements.
Right.
He's not Sir like Mo Farah.
No.
He's
Lord
Sebastian Coe.
Lord. And please bear in mind that both Rudisha and Eliud Kipchoge have done more than that man did
for his country.
In terms of athletic achievements. But for his country, they recognize what he did and they have rewarded him for it. The man is still very active in the IAAF management, right at the top of the management of athletics. And he is not just recognized, he's respected.
Why is it that as a country we don't actually honor all our people? Because we brought in the other names. Ngugi wa Thiong'o was nominated again
twice
year
for Nobel,
Prize on Literature.
What did we give Wangari Maathai when she brought in the Nobel award?
She got a burning spear, I'm sure, not a golden heart.
All the people who have these other awards that you speak of, which are supposed to be superior, do you even know them? Do you even remember them? Do you even know what they have done?
Yeah,
no.
Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Governor... name the governors.
They all have them.
Really? This is why I was asking. I mean, I actually get a headache.
So
literally
governors,
instant headache.
Think of a cabinet secretary. Cabinet secretaries have.
So essentially, it's something you give to cabinet secretaries.
And leaders,
it's something you
and
give.
Governors.
You give to. But Kipchoge is a leader.
Yeah.
In the real sense of the
Paul
word,
Tergat is
a leader. They have achieved things. Man, there's a host of athletes we've had in this country.
Kipchoge Keino is a leader.
Yes.
We've had them. Even going outside sports. Ezekiel Kimboi, you talked about the 3,000 meter steeplechase.
Yes.
Ezekiel Kimboi has won that thing so many times. In fact, he just laughs it off. You know, he's like, come on.
Let somebody else try. Okay,
let somebody else try. Ezekiel Kimboi, how well have we...
And you could honor people who no longer run but did.
Yes.
What did they give Kipchoge Keino?
Named the stadium after.
What did they give Kadenge, Joe Kadenge? Joe Kadenge got actually recognition in his latter years.
Much. And because he was ill, he came to the fore.
Yeah.
And for the longest of time, what he did was he actually drove a taxi, which was stationed in Hellingham. Yes.
It's necessary to realize that there are alternate ways to actually lift a nation. It is necessary to understand that our greatest resource is human resource, and that we can have individuals who are actually making a contribution that matters or that can be seen positively. And we have to get to the place where we realize it really is not just about politics all the time.
In this country it is.
It shouldn't. That's what I'm saying now. We need to get to the place where it should not be.
Clearly shows you the misplaced opinion that our leaders have of themselves as being they're clearly more important than everybody else. Because when you have national awards, and you give them to people who've been elected to serve people
who are doing their job.
No,
as it were.
No. The point is they're actually not doing their job. These discussions we're having,
they've been elected to do a job,
which they don't do well,
yes.
But they're given commendations. And then you have the citizenry who do exemplary.
And they're thrown by the wayside.
And they make us look good, sound good. If you leave this country and say you're a Kenyan, people they
Kenyan. Know you by those individuals.
Exactly.
Yes, it's true. They know you by those individuals.
Should we take it even further and say, yes, so we give you an honor and also it should come with something else, financial gain?
They should give you
a piece of land
to begin with, and then some money to go in with it.
Some money to throw in. Listen to what Eliud Kipchoge actually was saying. So this is how they're preparing for him.
There's absolutely nobody else that has a chance at breaking 2 hours in the marathon than Eliud.
Eliud is the best prepared marathon runner ever.
Well, we did a pretty comprehensive search and we had some criteria that was set by the performance team and by Elliot himself in terms of what he was looking for. And they ranged from sort of climatic conditions and environmental conditions, so things like heat, temperature, precipitation, wind.
Not only is it stable weather conditions, but we have a course that only has an incline of 2.4 metres. It is probably the straightest piece of road I have ever seen. The quality of the air in the Prater area of Vienna is stunning.
I think having a crowd is absolutely crucial. Having people behind him, giving him that encouragement, bringing that energy, is going to be a huge, huge boost for Elliot and for all the pacers as well.
I'm running to make history. I'm running to move over, to actually tell no human is limited to the whole generation in this world.
Now, in all
I'm
of this,
running to make history.
I'm running to show
the
for
human
the world.
race.
It's interesting that he did not. It's going to border on conspiracy, but he did not talk about "I am running for my country, Kenya."
I'm running for Kenya.
It has not
for Kenya to be
displayed.
seen.
Yes, it has not displayed in his force. It has not been displayed in his sentiment in what has been expressed, and I think that here again, because of our we have not been deliberate even in this as a country. What has been done? Did we hear any kind of sentiment coming from the Ministry of Sport, for example? Did we see any kind of addition to the whole discourse coming from the Ministry of Sport? We have seen private sector who've come out and said this is their dedication and how they're going to put it forward and how they're going to see it play out. But the country, look, this man is going to break this ceiling tomorrow, okay? And then we are going to hear a lot of talk coming out of leaders.
There'll be a statement, of course, issued to congratulate him, and it'll end there.
Did we not have competitions in Doha the other day?
Yes.
And our athletes performed exemplarily. The so-called leaders, what have you heard? I mean,
nothing. When they arrived, they were received at the airport. And that was it.
About it.
That's all they get.
The people who think they are important in this country, unfortunately, the people who we have entrusted with the management of our resources and with the leadership of the people of this country. And they clearly do not seem to think that other people other than themselves are important. Yes.
You know, when I raised this morning this topic, I'm saying that we should give Eliud Kipchoge the highest honors in the Republic, and that is the Chief of the Golden Heart, the one that's only given to presidents. We should give Eliud Kipchoge this one. The reason I'm raising this is so that we can also look at what else this government is doing in terms of honoring the people who do well for this country, and also looking at what this government is doing to make sure that we take advantage of such opportunities that fall on our lap. This is one Kenyan who is on a global stage. All the focus is on him. He is Kenyan. The people who are going to help him, the pacemakers, are majority Kenyan. This is a Kenyan event happening in Vienna. Yet, our Kenyan government is quiet. That's exactly why I was raising this topic. It's 29 minutes to 10 o'clock.
It's not every day that you meet a centenarian. Take, for example, the Standard Group. We have been here for over 100 years, and our secret to longevity has been but one: the magic of service. The magic of serving you, our customers, has given us so much life, and we could not have been here without you. We thank you, and we will continually endear to serve you to our level best. The Standard Group Customer Service Week. You mean the world to us.
How well do you know your country? Given a chance, where would you go? Not so many places, huh? Would you even know how to get there? Yes? No? Maybe? I don't know. Well, oh ye gallivanters and tourists alike, here is your chance to not only know, but also visit amazing destinations in Kenya with complete recommendations, guides, and tips on accommodation spots, wellness stops, and food joints all over Kenya. How, you ask? Courtesy of the biggest locally targeted tours and travel magazine, Travelogue. Travelogue is your monthly pull-out magazine in the Standard newspaper every first Thursday of the month. With Travelog, enjoy the beauty of life that Kenya has to offer. Visit exotic and hidden destinations, be part of amazing conservation campaigns and projects as you simply enjoy Kenya. It's our way of putting Kenya on the map. Grab your copy and be aboard the fun wagon as you improve the quality of your local travel experiences. Travelog, Jione Kenya. Tired of living your same old life? Need to spice it up and add some flavor? Well, we can help you go from living to living it up. East Africa, are you ready to be a part of the most vibrant entertainment scene with the best, freshest music, travel tips and destinations, fashion, tech and health trends, as well as your favorite celebrities' lifestyles? Introducing your favorite entertainment magazine, Pulsar, the ultimate all-in-one guide that will give you more meaning to life. Catch up with your celebrity writers and contributors to stay up to date with what's happening around you, where and how you can be a part of all that. The lifestyle guide that has been missing in your life. Pulsar. Live it up.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Okay. Figaro is not so bad right now, actually. The traffic is moving. At least there's some space between the bumper 1 and bumper 2 of the next car. So, yeah, it's not so bad. I think the worst is officially over. And the same rings true for Waiyaki Way as well as, Langata Road. Unfortunately, it's not the same situation at Langata Road because there's been a plane crash at Wilson Airport right after takeoff. Everybody is safe, but it was a Silverstone Airlines just after takeoff. The plane has crashed. There are emergency rescue on site. Nobody was hurt, but that has happened just about 5 minutes ago at the Wilson Airport. The onlookers have caused traffic on the road, of course, but the good thing is that nobody is hurt and the cause is yet to be identified. So that's what's happening on Langata Road right now.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
25 minutes to 10 o'clock. Good morning and welcome to the Situation Room. If you're just joining us, thank you for staying here since 6 a.m. This is Kenya's biggest conversation on Spice FM, broadcasting across the country in Malindi, Nyeri, Eldoret, Nakuru, Kisumu, Mombasa, Nairobi, worldwide on our website www.spicefm.co.ke, and also we live stream every morning on Spice FM KE, Facebook and YouTube, Spice FM KE. If you'd like to follow our conversation on our Twitter, our hashtag is Situation Room, and our Twitter handle, Spice FM KE. We'd love for you to follow us. So tomorrow, at 23 hours, 24 minutes, and about 30 seconds, Eliud Kipchoge will be racing against time. He is basically going to become the first man. We are not saying he's going to attempt. We basically know he's going to become the first man ever to run a 42-kilometer marathon in less than 2 hours. 1 hour, 59 minutes. In fact, for him to do that, he means he has to do 20 kilometers in less than an hour.
Can I ask something? I hear you, and your positivity is it's great. It's what makes you think he's going to do this?
Because he's the man for this.
What are the indicators pointing to that he would actually do this and achieve this feat?
So looking at Eliud the man, you've seen, of course, he broke the record last year. He's so far the fastest man marathoner. He had won the London Marathon. This man has participated in more than 7 major marathons. He has won all of them. All of them. Name any major marathon. He's gone there. He's conquered. So when this man actually came to the scene, it was in the late 90s. Was it 90s? He beat a man who nobody believed could be beaten. The Moroccan, Hicham El Guerrouj.
So what
you're saying... A teenager called Eliud Kipchoge just came and beat him. And since that point... Eliud Kipchoge has been conquering the world.
So what you're saying to me is that there's historical evidence that he can actually be deliberate in his actions and get something done and done right and actually supersede expectations.
Now, beyond that, there's also testimonials. Testimonials of people who've worked with Eliud, and they say, this man, when he's focused, he is focused. He completely can shut out everything else and says, this is what I want to do, and he goes for it and he does it. He's able to have laser sharp focus on what he wants to achieve.
So we have a living, breathing, in this case, running individual who can actually serve as a lesson for the entire country in what results you will get if you focus on excellence, if the repetitive nature of you being deliberate is actually carried out, you will achieve results.
Yes.
That is actioning a reform policy.
There you go.
When you break a record, you have initiated reform. What was no longer is. So you brought in something new. It may not look like it, but it is reform.
And it's bigger.
Yes, it is, because you've changed the entire landscape of that particular activity, for the whole world.
Stripped it bare,
completely.
Literally.
You've set new standards, and now people have to look at that whole thing differently.
When he was speaking here before he left, before I actually even went back to train, he had a press conference in Nairobi, and he said, I'm not going to Vienna to just run a marathon. I'm not going to Vienna to become the first man. I'm going to Vienna to show that no human is limited. I'm going to Vienna so that I can show journalists that you can actually focus and become better, write one story that changes the world. I'm going to Vienna. He said I'm going to Vienna so many times of very many professions. A lawyer can actually look at what I'm going to do and see it's possible.
A country oh my goodness, can look at what I am going to do and say that this is possible. A leader can go and take my razor sharp focus and say that this thing, I can actually do it for the betterment of people, for the betterment of the country. Look, we're talking about this man breaking a record, but I say this man is standing as an example of how Kenya can actually get itself out of the mess that it's currently in. And we say we're looking at examples. We talked about China, and we talked about the problems that we see today. We talked about China as an example of how we can also, but right here in country, we have examples of individuals who are working through their own granular, who are working through their own insulation, who are working through their own isolated way of doing things and actually reaping results.
Yes.
It's not about fanfare. It's about actually seeing something that can be done and getting it done and doing it right until, guess what? The world takes notice, sits up and actually supports you in this. It can be done for an individual. It can be extrapolated to country. It can be done. And these are the examples that we need. We can say, oh, well, that's just sports. But guess what? Sports has been used as examples the world over as to how we can actually get things done. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about being deliberate. And looking inside and seeing what do we have that we can use and learn from. We have examples, and they're right here amongst us. They're right here with us. But we keep losing on the opportunities that we have because we don't see the importance. We don't see the importance. It's a mind shift. A mind shift needs to take place, and we need to see what we have right here. A mind shift needs to take place as we have the conversations. The guy knows it. It's not just about him running. He knows what he's doing.
He knows. It's about humanity.
Exactly.
It's for humanity. Last year, we were actually unjust to Eliud Kipchoge. After doing what he did last year, all the achievements that he made last year, we did not recognize him with an honors. This country owes Eliud Kipchoge the highest honors all over in this country. We only have how many CGHs? So we have Uhuru Kenyatta, CGH, Mwai Kibaki, CGH, Daniel Arap Moi, CGH. We had Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, CGH. Others include visiting presidents. So Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia was given, Kikwete was given, Museveni has been given, His Highness the Aga Khan has been given.
They didn't give Olusegun Obasanjo.
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't know. I'm not sure. But yes. So, but here we have a Kenyan called Eliud Kipchoge.
Came to Kenya now.
Yeah.
He comes to Kenya.
Eliud Kipchoge needs to get this. It's reserved for heads of state, but well, forget it. We should actually give him this one. And then now let's.
He is a head of state.
Indeed. He represents what a head of state does.
Not only that, remember, he is the reigning champion. He is the record holder. When you're a president or a king or an emperor, you're
at the top.
You're at the very top. He is at the very top. There is no one else.
Right.
They are contenders to that particular throne, but he is on the throne. He is, and he deserves it.
No.
As does Rudisha.
David Rudisha.
Yes, and even after her passing away, Wangari Maathai, Ngugi is still alive. Lupita Nyong'o is still alive. Kadenge passed away.
Yep. We had the other professor who died the other Professor Bithi.
Yes.
Who died the other day. And everybody in academia says, everybody who's interacted with him says, this was a good man.
Two professors died. There was Chris Wanjala
and Chris Wanjala earlier.
Department.
Yep.
But we've had others who, let me put it this way, their contribution to the country cannot be underestimated. And it cannot be overstated. These people should fall in line and be given those commendations.
Yeah, why are we limiting?
They were at the very top.
We are limiting these very top honors to politicians and saying non-politicians should not rise beyond, Chief or Moran of the Burning Spear or Elder of the Burning Spear. Don't go anywhere into Golden Heart. Why?
When you do that, essentially what you're saying that you're calling it you're calling the commendation Elder of the Golden Spear, but it sounds more like an award of the lame duck because think about it. You give it to someone because you figure, well, now that they're here,
what else do we do?
Why don't we throw something at them and say, give them that one?
Mm.
Yes, we have people who've served this country well in boards of government parastatals. We've had people in the private sector who've done wonderful things for the country. We've had leaders who have done whatever they were supposed to do well and are recognized for it. Someone like Kinyua, who now I'm told wants to retire. This isn't your average or ordinary individual. He hasn't held that position for as long as he had because he's just someone. There's something about him, and that's why he's done what he's done.
Yep, Joseph Kinyua.
Yes. These are people who should be recognized in the same way.
High up there.
Yes.
So let's also now look at an organization called Brand Kenya.
Yes.
So Brand Kenya has one sole mandate of marketing Kenya. Marketing Kenya to Kenyans and marketing Kenya to non-Kenyans.
Is it a parastatal?
It's a government agency, yes. Not necessarily
parastatal. Government agency, and I think a couple of years ago there was, appointments at the helm of Brand Kenya, and it was thought that there were certain individuals who would push that agenda.
Yes, so it has a board and it has a secretariat, and the board also, of course, brings in people from the private sector, and the secretariat is people who obviously are in public service. But if you look at what Brand Kenya has done in this particular one, the iNews 159 challenge, right? Everybody in the world is talking about the iNews 159 going to Vienna. Eliud Kipchoge is going to Vienna. What have you seen? The one agency that is supposed to use such things to market Kenya, to make us feel proud of our heritage, to make us feel proud as Kenyans. What have you seen it doing?
They didn't even know what was going on. Let's just call it as it is. A lot of times we want to wrap things around, political correctness, but they just didn't even know what was happening. They're not here. They're not present.
It's called clueless.
They're clueless.
I mean, and it's a shame that we have to say.
Safaricom has actually recognized this, and Safaricom has altered its brand.
It's M-Pesa logo. Their highest earner. They've changed it to Eliud. And here we are. Again, I keep talking about fingers up noses, and you keep laughing. Instead of doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're sitting around excavating your nose.
Yes.
It's not. It's irritating to the point that you have to trivialize it like this. But there's certain things that we can do. I keep saying, what is in your hand? What is it that is in your hand that you can then use to propel yourself? And we don't even. That's why an audit is necessary, because these issues they're mixed within each other, right?
People who are eating our money and doing nothing and picking their noses.
Yeah, it's right there.
That's putting it really politely, That's putting it really, really politely. But the point you're making is a valid one. So what you're saying is that should Safaricom then take over the role of Brand Kenya?
See, the other day we talked about Red Cross taking over the role of disaster management.
Yes.
Because they have shown that they can do it. If you think about the kind of adverts that Safaricom has actually done in the last couple of years, showing Kenya's heritage, it's about Kenya to Aweza. Even they changed from the better option to Aweza. And the message around Aweza is we can do it together. We can come together. We can consolidate. We can actually make it better. What is the Brand Kenya's tagline? Do you know? No, I don't.
I thought you were going to say it's do you know?
They have one, don't they?
They must have one.
Okay.
Right? There's Tembea Kenya for Kenya Tourism Board.
That's Magical Kenya. I
That's
believe.
Magical Kenya, right? For Kenya Tourism Board. And Brand Kenya has something. And here we are. We see one corporate organization that has actually been able to send that message of we can do it as Kenyans. Constantly, we can do it as Kenyans. They've jumped onto this one. They've seen, yes, this is one Kenyan who's actually going to do something for humanity, and this is what he's doing. And let's actually change our logo for M-Pesa and call it Eliud 159. We can do it. Here we have Brand Kenya.
It's interesting to note that
disband it, make it a department in Safaricom, give some tax rebates to Safaricom at the end of the year. Let's make this work, because it's working anyway from Safaricom.
I'm on the Brand Kenya website. I mean, just now. We even have a unique opportunity right now to have the front page, for example, of Brand Kenya branded now with INEOS 159 and the history of this man, etc., etc.
What do we have?
There's nothing.
What do we have?
Kikois and Kiondos. Rewarding beyond your imagination is what the tagline is. Rewarding beyond your imagination, and that's what Brand Kenya's tagline is. And
that's the tagline for Brand Kenya. Yes. Rewarding beyond your imagination.
Yes.
Do you resonate with that?
I don't even understand it. What are they saying?
I don't know.
I honestly don't understand it. You know, Eric, what you're saying brings to mind something that happened recently when we had the census. It took the Central Bank of Kenya and what they did to making us understand why it was necessary for us to hand over the old 1,000 shilling notes. This is a government parastatal. Okay? Not a ministry, government parastatal. On the other one, you had a ministry, there's a department in charge, but a ministry.
Yeah.
And these fellows have 10 years in order to plan for this.
They're planning for a census. 10
years. And we were asking questions, and even when the census was going on. The other day, we have issues with our education system. A new curriculum has been brought in, and people are asking, what about this? How about this? We are seeing in the same country institutions, government institutions, and the private sector coming out and actually informing people, but so that people know. Everyone knows about this athletics.
Exactly.
Yes. Everyone knows about the marathon. Everyone knew about the 1,000 shilling note. Everyone.
Everybody
you knew it.
knew.
They told you and they told you. And the banks who you bank with would also tell you, you would be sent SMSs, you were told.
So it's possible to do.
So that's the point. So I'm asking, something as important as education, why was it not given this prominence? Something as important as a census. Why? These are very important things for the country.
Absolutely.
Why were they not given this prominence? Who are the people who are supposed to do this? Then we have a situation where the country has a catastrophe, a disaster. Children die over something they shouldn't have, something that shouldn't have happened because the government did whatever they did and they understood that this school had a problem, but nothing was done about it. Then when they do something, they close schools. Net result, children don't have schools to go to. You don't hear of government heads rolling, and they should roll. The owner of one school, we are told, is taken to court. But the government who are supposed to be responsible for this, we don't hear. I'm not even going to say that something happened. I believe nothing has happened. Nothing.
If anything happened, you'd have heard about it.
Yes.
You would have heard.
The people who are responsible for this, because these are government officials, are still working. They're still getting on with their lives.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing actually happened. Yes. And we have look, it's probably something we're going to talk about in the course of next week, but we do have a looming.
It is.
It's a disaster.
And you'll find some of these individuals have been given state commendations.
There you go. 10,000 students out of school. In the light of exams that are happening the week after next.
Yes.
And we're quiet about it.
And
Nobody's saying anything.
And the alternatives that are being provided are sketchy. And that's, again, being polite.
At best.
We have a caller from Kibera who told us that, look, you're being told children are being moved. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
It's not happening.
No, it's not. Now, and as I said, some of these fellows have commendations.
0719-012-600. As we come to the end of the show this morning, we want you to call in and, well, first of all, let's honor Eliud Kipchoge, and we want you to send your message of goodwill to Eliud Kipchoge as he goes to beat and conquer time tomorrow. But at the same time, and I want to keep repeating this, he should be given the highest the topmost honors by Kenyans.
Not when he breaks the record. Now.
Yes, this year. And this is the Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart. This one, only a president has it. We should give Eliud Kipchoge what we've given presidents. Good morning, Yegon. Good morning, Yegon.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good morning, Yegon.
I'm fine. Yes.
Talk about Eliud Kipchoge.
No, about Eliud Kipchoge, we are just wishing him success.
Yes.
Because we know as a country, our leadership have led Eliud Kipchoge, they have let him down. Because if you can see a foreign company just financing a direct flight all the way from Eldoret up to Vienna, no minister was available.
I mean,
nobody was there to see him off.
No, nobody was there to see him off. We just saw through the media coverage.
Yes.
So I think as a country we have let our heroes down, and we are concentrating on non-petty issues. Because if you see us rewarding bloggers as our Moran of the Golden Spear,
I mean,
and we have heroes who have raised our flag. When we were watching Doha, you could feel happy when the national anthem is being played.
Oh, yes.
But what happened? You see the recently 1500 lady Jemgetich. She just chatted in the country, the person who was receiving our Senator of Kericho and his parents.
That's it.
Where was the Kenyan government? So, if Kenya wants to recognize Kipchoge, they should even build him a statue.
Yes.
Actually, yes, that's a new one. Thank you very much.
Yes, they could give him a statue because he's our hero. He's now all the world tomorrow will be gathering to watch a Kenyan.
Yes.
In fact, the president should have been at that place.
He should go, not the deputy.
He should not the deputy. Because we have seen, look, when the World Cup finals, you can, or even the semis, you can see the president, the person of the Prime Minister or President watching the game and motivating players. But what about Kenya? No.
Talk about Brand Kenya, Yegon.
You know, Brand Kenya was just, I think these are parastatals which are given out because of political motive. Because I had, let me use an example of an SCR. I had some guys who were digital experts during the Jubilee campaign. After the work was over, election is over, where will you put these guys just to place them in those recently?
Give them jobs.
Give them jobs, which they are not fitted. Now, if you see what are we marketing in Kiondo, surely in Brand Kenya. What are we marketing?
Well, it's still part of our heritage, but the point is we should be going with the times.
Yes, we should be going with the time, recognizing what is happening currently. I don't know even they are aware. They are not aware. If they were aware, we could see even the banners. Have you seen a banner? Why are we seeing the banner of Spice FM? We have a banner of Jerry along.
We have billboards all over of the Situation Room.
What about now? What are Brand Kenya doing? These are guys just eating our money. And I don't know why is our president sleeping. The only person who can fix this country is the president. No one else. Because he's the one. I don't know even if this list of heroes is being given. So you come and interrogate who is this person or is just giving out. And I can tell you for this. Usitunaenda Mashujaa on 20th. Kipchoge will be given Chief Moran of the Burning Spear because they have given the Moran Spear the last days. They will be upgrading. Those ladies and the guys who won gold, they will have nothing. I will call you on 21st. Thank you.
Asante sana, Yegon. Well, we're talking about Eliud Kipchoge and what he's going to be doing tomorrow in the iNews 159 Challenge in Vienna, Austria. And then, of course, we still have some breaking news that's coming in this morning from Wilson Airport. What's happening there, Ndu?
Well, a plane has skidded off the runway while trying to take off headed towards Mombasa. It was a Silverstone airline aircraft, and unfortunately this has happened. It was reported initially that there have been no casualties. However, the emergency rescue services on ground to try and decipher what exactly is happening. Right now, we were told that there were no casualties, but unfortunately the plane has crashed in a an attempt to take off.
Skidded off the runway.
Skidded off the runway. The runway was slippery because of the rains overnight. So we're waiting to see if there have been any casualties or what the situation is. But just to let you know, that has happened just at the southern bypass. And we're waiting to see or hear if there's anything more with that.
All right, so we'll keep following up on that. And also you can, of course, tune into KTN News because they've got live coverage and footage from there as well. Well, the Situation Room is coming to an end for the week. So let's talk about the weekend coming up, CT Muga.
Well, one of the things that I think we have to continue doing is ensuring that whatever we feel and know ought to be said about our country and the progress it is and isn't making, we shouldn't relent.
No.
This isn't something you say once and then you let off. This is something you say continuously and hold our leaders to account.
We hope that the bodies will be retrieved out of the vehicle that has been located in the Likoni Channel. So we'll be watching closely to see what happens with that. At the same time, there are 10,000 children who are in need of preparation for exams, which will happen in the next 2 weeks. And we don't know what is going to happen with that either. And we are very positive that Eliud Kipchoge will beat time tomorrow. So there are a number of things happening in this country and a number of things that we need to continually be deliberate about. The conversations cannot stop.
We wish Eliud Kipchoge well tomorrow. You can, of course, tune in